Good morning, good evening, and good night, depending on where you are. And I'm Execute. Tired. How are you, Badgers?
I'm good, thank you, mate. Yourself? Other than tired, obviously.
No. Yes, that's right. I did get some good sleep, though. I got 5 hours, so I'm catching up slowly. We'll see how we go.
Good.
Good morning to everyone in chat. Good to see you all. I'm actually expecting this to be a bit quiet one. I was saying to Badgers, there's a few other streams on at the moment, especially like Summer Game Fest and stuff like that. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I am looking forward to ISC though. And I was saying that to you as well. I don't normally look forward to ISC, but with what happened last week, I'm kind of expecting.
Yeah, you were saying you were really coming around and you're really beginning to idolize disco. Yeah.
That is not what I said at all. But
No.
okay, sure.
No, well, I'm sure that's what I heard.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. I'm going to kill you later. Right. No, but my mum is on my way to you, though, by the way. She left yesterday afternoon on her way to... She's going... I was telling you before the show, three-month holiday. She does this like once a year. She's crazy. And she's going to Italy, and for some reason, your neck of the woods. I don't know why. Why would anyone want to live there? Probably
when you've lived in a criminal colony, it must seem very pedestrian up here.
Yes. Actually, Yo Silas was going to join us today, but he couldn't make it because he actually works for the Coast Guard. And I told him that you were going to be here, and he got very disappointed that he couldn't make it because you also work for the Coast Guard. But he had to fix a plane. There was a plane that broke down, and they need it back for the Coast Guard, so he had to go to work, unfortunately. So we'll probably try and reschedule. What I said to him, we'll probably reschedule like a normal show to do with him that's at a more appropriate time. And maybe we can get him all together for that.
That's cool.
Yeah. All right. I will get the bot set up. I am not awake, if you can't tell people. I am running on whatever I run on. Probably noodles at the moment. I'm probably running on noodles. That's probably what it is.
You say hopes and dreams. Hopes and dreams, mate.
All right. Bot is kicking. Yep. Bot is up. So when your question's ready. I don't drink coffee. Someone said caffeine and Sprite. No.
No, spite.
Oh, Sprite, right.
Yeah, I feel like that's the most accurate answer we've had on that all day. Else Gaming, you were right on the nose, my friend. Right on the nose.
Yeah. So, yeah. Not too cold down here today, though. What about you up there? How's it going in the up over? Is it...
It is toasty as. So, for my tea this evening, I had a barbecue.
Yeah.
Which is good. And this is why I am leading in the score.
Yeah.
So I had one of these to barbecue because it's the law. If you've got a barbecue, then obviously you're going to be drinking. So yes. Do spare a sympathy for X, who's going to have to deal with a less and less Compass Mentis badges as the stream goes on.
So nothing unusual there. Alrighty then. Yeah, so get your questions in. We're going to be watching ISC. There was something else I wanted to talk about, and it's eluded me, but it always comes back because I'm constantly thinking in the background as I'm driving, but it'll come back to me. But there was something I wanted to talk about that popped up this week, but it's eluded me. And usually Algared comes out with it because he's remembered, but you and I didn't talk beforehand, so well, not that much anyway. Oh, that's something we can talk about real quick. The Discord changes. Have you noticed those? Have you been asked to change your username yet?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is the dropping of the 4-digit codes and things.
I think it's just the most stupid thing I've ever seen. I got offered mine fairly early because I was on Discord very early, but Execute was gone. They offered me _execute. And
wow.
Yeah, I just not interested. I just like, well, if I just don't change, what are you gonna do? You're gonna force me onto a random name? And I think they're gonna be fighting in a massive uphill battle because, like, well, there's like the only people that are going to switch are the people that are going to get the name that they want. Everyone else is just going to, like, I don't know if you can see our Discord, but there's people already that have changed their name to the first letter of their name and then 3 dots. And that, I think that's a sign of protest, but I've only been on Discord for the last 20 minutes, so I can't tell, but it's really annoying. And yeah, obviously as gamers, it's really annoying to have your identity taken, and this actually kind of parallels to the ship name things in Star Citizen. So I hope CIG takes note of what happens on Discord in the next while, because that's what it's feeling like. What about you?
Yeah, it's not Shinobi trip, $5. No question, just getting this in before Badgers gets the stream demonetized. That's like a weekly occurrence now on videos, so yeah, oops. But thank you very much, mate. I appreciate it.
We actually added each other on Facebook during the week because of my mum coming over, and I remember all those things you've been telling me, and I went back through and started reading some of your posts. I'm like, oh, so this is what you've been talking about where he got kicked off Facebook. This is where he got kicked off Facebook?
No, because funnily enough, that's not where I got kicked off Facebook, because if you get kicked off Facebook, it gets removed.
Right.
So yeah, no, that was the stuff that made it through the firewall.
Wow. Yeah, he's pretty brutal. Like people say, but I have to admit, it was someone saying something incredibly stupid, and then Badgers just replying with like, yeah. Anyway,
we all know what it's like. I cannot go to bed. There are idiots on the internet, and they need correcting.
That's it.
So yeah.
Alrighty then. Let's have a look at a question then before we. I actually had a look. Actually, you do the first question. I'm going to have a quick look and see if ISC is even out. I actually haven't had a look yet. If you don't mind.
Okay, so Nova42 asks, are the questions from last week that were left over going to be answered?
They are.
See why not.
They're technically sitting there. Yeah, I guess we can. Why not? Yeah, do them then. Go back.
Yeah, we can jump into those.
Yeah, so everyone blame Nova. Your questions have been delayed. It's his fault, right?
Just, he's a ray of sunshine, isn't he? Okay, so Maxwell TV asks, do you think one day ship beds will become default beds where you respawn like when you land on a city or on a station?
No, because they've actually said that you'll be going to medical facilities, like much like what you do now.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've said that quite a few times in the past.
Yeah, I think your first. So go to bed in your ship bed, wake up in your ship bed is the plan.
Yeah.
But obviously when you first spawn in, they need to know where your stuff is. So you'll need to select a major landing zone or a spawn point, and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, when you log, is entirely right for respawning, not so much.
Yeah, when you log back into the game though, yeah, 100%. That's where it's going to be eventually. So that's the advantage of those ships that have a bed as opposed to the ones that don't have a bed. You can come, and that's a huge convenience if you think about it. Like it'll probably be the last bed that you used, last hab that you used. I've actually never really thought about that until, because what happens if you don't log out into bed, does it take you back to the last bed that you logged in? The last stationary bed? How does that work? That's a disconnect, I've just realized.
Well, I'd imagine what they'll do is what they do now, right? So if you're at a station, you will you'll wake up in a bed on that station like you've rented it for the night, and they'll charge you whatever many credits for the night. Yeah, on planets, don't know. I guess you default back to your bed.
It's something we'll have to look into. That's interesting. I've never really thought of it until he kind of brought it up. But yeah, I don't know if that's the point you were trying to make, but it's now got me thinking. Because that's kind of how it works right now. Like it's the last station you went to, the bed. But there is a slight disconnect there. That's interesting. Because like when you do, there are times though where you get logged out and then it logs you right back in the same spot. Now, if it can do that on the server, why can't it just do that all the time? Because they don't want you to do that. They want you to force you into the beds and stuff. So it's interesting. Wait, see where that takes us down the road. All right. Next question, Badgers, if you're able.
Okay. So, Quantum Kazi33 asks, if it is a repair ship, could the Crucible go up in price during Alien Week?
It's more than likely going to go up when it gets a reconcept. It did hit the roadmap at one point, and I think they would announce, kind of like what happened with the Banner Merchantman. You know, they kind of showed off what was happening with it, and the price went up accordingly. But we've been as we've been saying for years, we like Algared and myself have been expecting that and the Endeavor to go up in price at some point. Again, all you have to do is get that $10 CCU, but there's no $10. Like it's not a huge outlay to lock in that price. I don't know. Badges, is $10 too much to ask for someone to lock in a cheaper price? You tell me.
I don't know. It's very much down to the individual again. You know, I think we were talking about this in a separate conversation a couple of days ago, and that you get there are different ways to play the CCU game, and one of them is literally just see it as a way of upgrading.
Yep.
You know, whereas some people say it as a means to getting, well, I can do this and get it cheaper, and I can do that, and then I can make up a thing. And some people just go, I want to upgrade my ship, and the CCU is the way to do it.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, if you're in the habit of speculating, you can do a lot worse than a $10 CCU.
Yep. I think the other part is obviously them two being the much older ships that haven't really kind of, you know, like if they came out today, I would not expect them to come out at that price point. I'd expect them to be a lot higher. And I think you could even look at, well, put it this way, I don't think the Galaxy is half the size. Well, I don't know about size, but it's not half the ship that they are, as an example, and it costs more. You know, so you know, you look at the Endeavor, look at the size of the ship of the Endeavor at the old style, and you know it's got to increase, and it's the same thing with the Crucible. You just run that through it. It makes logical sense. You are for $10, you're betting on it going up in price. You know, and I know I don't actually know exactly how many, but I know Algared's got multiple CCs. He's just sitting on for the Crucible and the Endeavor, in hopes that they'll go up. But there's no doubt in my mind that they're going to skyrocket. Look at the Banner Merchantman. If we'll probably never see an exact repeat of that. That's probably the biggest one we're ever going to see. But the most likely to do the same thing is the Endeavor. And then the second after that would be the Crucible. But I just don't expect the Crucible to be quite as big. You know, so it's hard to tell. Like, we'll look at the Orion. The Orion went from 325 to 575. I would expect a very similar price trajectory. So that ship at 575 now was cheaper than the Crucible and the Endeavor, and it's gone to 575. So it is bigger though, but I would expect at minimum $100 price jump on that Crucible at minimum. The Endeavor we've talked about it, the cows come home, but yeah. All right. Next question, if you
okay, TF2 Luck says, should alien ships fill unique roles for their size, or merely be a fancy-looking alternative to another ship which fills that role, for those who want to pay more?
What are your thoughts on that?
So there absolutely is an alien tax, and the most obvious example I can give of that is if you look at the Prowler versus any of the other dropships, literally any of the other dropships, you could probably buy almost, kind of a combination of any two almost for the price of the Prowler.
Would you say the Prowler suffers from a double tax? Because I think it kind of does. I think I think a lot of the dropships fall under combat, and I think it also falls under alien, so it gets a double whammy. And there is a combat tax as well in this game. It's not talked about a lot, but you know, look at the Redeemer as an example. You know?
I mean, possibly, but certainly in the aliens, I think, you know, with combat, you're talking about a type of or a role of a ship. So you just accept the fact that if you want to go into that role, you're paying that extra money. Should there be something that the aliens can do? I think having aliens do something differently. So we were talking about this a while back with the mining, and having aliens mine in a different way that changes. It doesn't give you necessarily an advantage. It just changes. Maybe it's much slower, but it allows you to sift.
Yep.
So you can, just choose. You can set filters for what you do want and what you don't. It just makes it much slower to extract those stuff. That might be something that would be quite cool. But I think, that would be my hope for alien ships, is that there's something that does things in a different way, not just, if you want to do anything like this, you've got to own that particular ship.
Yeah, sitting here listening to you talk about alien mining, like I was thinking, like the Cyan as an example on the surface, so surface mining. When you crack a rock, they kind of explode and go apart because they've got that anti-gravity stuff. They might do it differently, like where they just laser it off the surface, pick it up, and then just start like pulling it apart, and it floats into different pieces and stuff like that because they've got that floating tech. So they utilize that. And so basically, when it cracks, it just actually perfectly cracks and then lines up in a line. Because the computer AI has got the ability to do that. So it lines it, it just makes it incredibly easy to mine. Or just when it's on the... Well, I guess you could do that too in space as well. It like lines it all up for you and puts it in a grid and then scans it all and go, yeah, this is the best one, and highlights it. You could do any of that. As opposed to actual aliens versus humans, if you think about it realistically, even if you look at between countries of Earth or cities of Earth even, right? The further it has to go, it's generally the best of the best that makes it out of that city or that country. So basically, and it's usually generalized stuff, or it's something that the other race is missing, right? Well, I say race in alien human terms. So most of the ships you would have to imagine are going to be saved for their expansion packs when they get around to doing it. They've also given especially the Banu, they've given really heavy law reasons for them not to have a lot of ships, right? Because they didn't want to make a lot of ships for them. So you'll notice that we tend to be seeing a lot more ships for the Cyan because the Banu's got this law in place that's really locked them down to a limited number of ships. Does that mean that we will get all of them eventually? I reckon we'll get but I think the Banu will just have a lot less. So it's hard to kind of, because they can change the law too, and that just throws everything out, as Badgers and not Badgers, sorry, Algared and Paul will tell you. But we'll see. There's also
an element of just because it's alien doesn't mean it's better. And if the law is that a lot of these ships are being remade for humans, because if you look at the first of the Blade and the Glaive, it was I can't remember which advert it was, but it was taking on the Vandal ship, and they actually ride it like a motorbike. So in the cockpit, they are leant down, they are hunched over something, they've got their arms forward, they've got their feet back, and it's like, obviously not for anyone that's been on a sports bike, not a comfortable position for humans to be in for any great length of time.
But it might be for the Vandal,
to remake it into something that's usable for humans. That's kind of reliant on the humans not having something that's just better. So if you're sat there going, they've got a really big mining ship, but it can't do it, it can't refine it, might just be that they go, well, no one's going to make it because it'll be cheaper to make an Orion, therefore it's cheaper to sell an Orion, and it's better than the alien counterpart. Yeah. So we're not going to bother. So if you're not making ships for law reasons, there's plenty of reasons not to have alien equivalents.
What's to turn around and it doesn't go the other way? Like using your example, what's to say that the Cyan didn't start using Orions? You know what I mean? So and that I guarantee you that's going to be a thing. Because every ship they take from the human and push onto the Cyan is one less ship they've got to make. Do you know what I mean? So that I reckon that will, more than turn of phrase, will be a thing. Yeah, it's interesting because again, they really can do whatever they want. That's that's one of the reasons why Chris wanted to do this from the beginning, so they were free from a publisher. And whether you want to sit here and complain about feature creep and stuff like that, this game would not be in existence the way it is if it was under a publisher. No way. I think there are pros and cons. We could sit here and debate that, but I think where the project is now, I wouldn't change that, because I think it's given us that creative explosion or creative freedom. And yes, it has drawbacks, but it's the only project like it. You know, we've got to kind of see it through. And you know, how do I word this? It's hard to say. Like there is nothing else like it. So you know, I wouldn't want to see it disappear because it is so different. And even if it, like, let's say worst case scenario, it fails, which I don't think it will. It was still an experiment, you know, and you had to let it pan out to see what would happen, you know. Yeah, and I know that sounds a bit weird because a lot of people are going to go, "Oh, I lost so much money," but if you don't do it, you never know. And it's the same thing with, like, I always use the thing like curing cancer when I put it to this game. You know, it's the same thing with pet, what do they call it? Before PES, iCache. You know, they didn't know iCache was going to work until they tried it. So it didn't work, and now they're trying PES instead. You know, so it's the same thing. You don't know if you don't try. It's just that simple. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next question, I guess.
So, John Paul Boyle asks, do you think a version of Theatres of War will be in 320? I really hope it will.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with straight up no.
Paul seems to think so. He's hoping for something like that by the end of the year. I keep coming back to the thing S and I used to talk about. So I still think that it's something like Theatres of War, whether it's called that anymore. I don't think they'll call it that, by the way. There's already a game called Theatres of War, and I just think it's a really mouthy name. I think they can call it something cooler. Well, Star Citizen Theatres of War is just a bit too long. To put it mildly, in regards to Theatres of War, SA and I believe that is the multiplayer component of Squadron 42. So basically, when that comes out, it's something that you can play, and if you made it free to play, and we actually polled this last week, and like I think it was 60-70% of people agreed with us. If you actually had a free to play thing to draw people in, because they, you know, you Call of Duty players come in, they'll play that and then realize that there's a Star Citizen and push them off into that. So it's kind of this stepping stone mechanic, because they don't have a full multiplayer ready to go, but having a multiplayer Battlefield S time, like that game, I don't know, you tell me, Badgers, if they had enough maps, so let's just say, got out there 10 maps, I think that'd be a pretty big damn draw card for some people.
Yeah. Yeah, Daily Noob reckons it should be renamed Shooty Shooty Bang Bang, according to Twitch chat, and I think he's onto something. But yeah, hello, Daily, by the way. Good to see you, buddy. I think there's a few things they can do to kind of do the whole pull through of people into the game without getting them, you know, and do it as a free to play offering. And obviously we all get the free to play offerings anyway. And maybe even, you know, offer up servers and stuff that are specifically to owners of the game. But there's definitely scope to use those other products, like Arena Commander, like Star Marine, you know, even have the noob planet that doesn't really exist, in the game, but you have that as your free-to-play offering. People can come, they can fly the ships around, they can trash it, they can do whatever they want, they can't get out of orbit, you know, and they can see what the game has to offer. Yeah, there's definitely mileage in something like that with Theatres of War and everything else. And Theatres of War is just a nice way of giving us some lore. You know, lore is so much more fun when you play it, rather than sitting there and watching a cut screen or you know, watching I mean, this is why for some of us when we were playing World of Warcraft, going back to places like Stratholme was so massive. Stratholme was a dungeon based entirely on one of the Warcraft 3 missions. You fought your way through Stratholme, and then all of a sudden you go there in kind of the aftermath, you know, as a hero, and you're actually running through the streets yourself, and that's got some, you know,
same token,
got some fun to it.
The quests that used to get in World of Warcraft, like a lot of people hated reading them, but then when they updated them to be spoken, it made a huge difference to a lot of people. So yeah, no, I can relate to that.
Absolutely.
All right, next question. I don't know where we're up to because you've been doing the questions.
That's right. GL Cannon says, is it possible that CIG increased ship prices to CCU chains so that people have to redo their CCU chains and a chance for CIG to make more money?
Does not matter if you have them all in links, which is why we recommend keeping them in links. Yeah. You know, because you can have that linking credit, and then basically you melt that one and then reconnect. It's that simple. So yeah.
Just like, based on what evidence? What's the evidence that CIG are increasing ship prices to blow up CCU chains?
I think
if there isn't, and you're asking whether or not it's possible, based on what? Like,
I think he's worried. So to me, that sounds like someone that's worried that he's going to invest in a chain and the chain is going to get destroyed. He's essentially asking, how can he stop that problem? And as I said, as long as you keep it linked with the credit as well, and you can just melt off the credit the credit part at any time, it's fine. You know, and that's a lot of people keep this stuff in Excel sheet and they color code, so you know which one's a credit and which one a war bond. And just go from there.
Look, if you genuinely think that CIG are going to do things like that, or you genuinely think that that might be a possibility, for the love of God, don't park money in CCU chains. What are you doing? Giving your money to a company that you don't trust? Just don't do it. You know, there's got to be a bit of balance here. You know, to put money, to lock money in CCU chains, knowing that there is no definite date on when these ships are coming out. We have no date for the Crucible. We have no date for the Endeavor. We have no date for the Banning Merchantman. We don't know when this stuff is coming. To then lock your money away when you're concerned about the risk that they'll act like the evil capitalists and just suddenly blow everything up by increasing all the prices, don't give them the money.
Yeah,
you know, because I don't see that behavior from them.
Yeah, but I think in giving financial advice, it comes down to the individual. So if you know you can put the money into the game, you're fine. If you don't have that money to spend, don't. Right. So that's the thing. But I don't think he's talking about money. I think what he's talking about. His concern is the breaking of those chains. Right. He doesn't want to put all that groundwork in and then essentially lose the connection. And as I said, as long as you keep them connected, but not. As long as you keep the links, but they're not chained together, you're totally fine. Because, like, to give you an example, I've got a Banning Merchantman one that goes backwards down to a Carrack, right? Now, I haven't lost anything because that's where it was at the time when I linked it, right? So as long as I keep that link, I'm not losing the ship that I went to, right? Now, I can also switch that. So I can switch it so it no longer goes backwards and reorganize it. So there are ways out of it, right? So again, having multiple CCUs, you can go in different directions. It actually doesn't hurt. And again, once you finally place that link in the chain, you can melt off the CCU for what you brought it for. So even though it might look like a $100 CCU, but you only paid $5, it's what you originally spent. You can always get back. So there is no loss there. Right, it's a gain if you keep it, and you're never losing anything. Right, that's the thing. Like everyone goes, oh, but that means I'll lose $100. You're not losing it. You never had it to start with. You've just gained it, gained an advantage, and there's no actual transaction occurring. There's no money changing hands other than the initial money that you put in. And again, if you can't afford to put that in, don't put it in. That's why I said, going back to that very first question about a $10 CCU, if you can't afford $10 for a CCU, well, man, if you can't afford $10 for a CCU, you probably shouldn't be playing this game to start with, right? But in most of the people that can afford to play this game, $10 is not much. So that's a tough one.
Yeah, I don't think it's Hello, Asambone. Hello, gents. Thanks for the streams. $10 super chat. Thank you very much, my friend. Appreciate it.
I was starting to think he was ill. It was a little late. Yeah, he every week Asambone is there with a donate. What do you call it? Super chat. So yeah, I was starting to get a bit worried. It's all good.
Are you stealing your CPUs daily? Don't you mean CCUs, dude? Have you been drinking? Like, because this time you and I can drink together, my friend. Let's do this.
I just realized something.
But yeah,
too. Once you finished talking, I've totally forgot something. I was sitting here going, "What am I forgetting?" You know what I forgot? Not-A-Tuna. Totally forgot Not-A-Tuna. So I'll let you pick. We need to pick someone from chat to pick the new item going into Not-A-Tuna. So the other 3 items that we already have is we have the Inferno. Oh, this is going to look terrible. The Nomad, and we've also got the last skin pack from, that'll be Microtech, Finley. No, that'll be Crusader. So we're the last one. So we need to pick one to go with those ones. So we need someone to pick a window. So would you like to pick someone from chat that seems to stand out to you? He's probably looking for the least insulting person.
The Botalks Gaming.
Yep.
First off, says what's Not-A-Tuna, so he'd be ideal. Also, he made the awesome comment of that you run on caffeine and spite, which I feel is at least 50% correct because you don't drink coffee. Yeah. So yeah, it's I think Botalks. Do you want to pick a window for us?
Which one's he on? Just give us a color. What's he on? Twitch.
He's on Twitch.
All right, so let us know on Twitch which window you would like. What's his name? What?
Botalks. It's my name. Got it.
Botalks Gaming. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Botalks Gaming. I see what you mean.
Oh, his name is Bo.
Right. I do apologize, sir.
Did you call him
massacred that.
Buttocks Gaming. No. Right. That's what you called him. Right. What an insult.
You know what? Now that I'm back, I can mute you, so you watch yourself, young man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Really
so Botalks Gaming. Give us a color, my friend, from the
a color or a window. Yeah. Do you know what this is from? Because you've probably got no idea. This is the first time you saw it briefly. So this is from. So I'll explain it so Bo knows what it is as well. So this is actually from Play School. Here in Australia, we have a kids' TV show called Play School, where they have a circle, a triangle, and an arch window. I just expanded it out and put some extra ones in. And basically they pick one of the windows and then kind of tell a story. So we did it with a window, but you win a prize. And then the name Not-A-Tuna came from Arnold Schwarzenegger, Not-A-Tuna. And then I somehow crossed that in my brain in a lucid state. I was in a kind of, not a dream, but as I was waking up. And I crossed it with the Fortuna, as in the 400i Fortuna. And my brain called it Not-A-Tuna, and it's just stuck. And we had a 400i to give away, and that's the very first one that we did, and so it's just kind of stuck. Really stupid. That's my retarded brain over there. That's it. And then because it's a fish, I just got fish magnets. That's kind of where it comes from. Totally stupid, made up. The points don't matter. But yeah.
So Botalks Gaming has green.
All right, what have we got under green today? We have the Mustang. That'll be the Mustang that I'm adding in. All right, I will set that up for the next part. So I'm going to add that in. Do you want to take another question while I do this, please?
Yeah. So, Nova42 asks, how do you think CIG will handle the whole B landing with cargo? Will it do full load and long landing gear, or no cargo on the bottom and retracting that section of the spindle?
Doesn't have cargo on the bottom anyway, does it? It goes sideways like the whole A, so they don't need to handle it.
That was my thinking.
Yep.
Yeah, so there is no bottom spindle, so it can land normally. And then
but
the whole
C. Are we on the next page? The whole C is the one where you don't put the bottom spindle down, and then it can land on the ground. That's the one he's thinking of. No?
Yeah.
Yes, no? Yes, no?
We've now got on the chat now, we've now got woohoo horse mounts in Star Citizen.
What? Horse Mountain?
Horse mounts, because of the picture of your horse.
Oh, I thought they were talking about like
So-
he was trying to live out his fantasy. What's that? Brokeback Mountain. He wanted to live out his Brokeback Mountain fantasy. Right. Okay. Who was that said that? I'm curious now.
That went wrong really quickly. Let's have a look. Because we've got some people say that hole B goes in all 4 directions. Let's have a look.
I will double check.
Hole B detail page. It does, in fact, it seems,
Well, then, if
to
that's
have cargo below it.
if that's the case, then
Yes.
then it will be the bottom spindle that folds up. Yep.
Yeah.
100%. Yep. And they have talked about that to the effects. So maybe the whole B. Maybe I've got it wrong, and it's not the whole C where the bottom goes up. It's the whole B where the bottom goes up, so it can land. Yep. Absolutely. Just take what I said before and transfer it to the other ship.
Mm-hmm.
Because there has been so many things that have come out for this game over time, I am only human. I know it doesn't look it. I look like a freak, but yeah. Let's see. All
Okay.
right, next question.
Accuracy 158 asks, I don't disregard, that is just a comment. So Sangroper asks, question was more about the lack of internal communications. This is why it's really hard sometimes to pick up the following time, because you're now out of conversations that you haven't had for a week.
You have to add.
So this is why we don't always go back to them.
But you also have to add. Yeah, so that's a question that he asked earlier. So they're done. All right. So now we're on to.
Yeah.
Thanks to Nova, we've been delayed by I don't know half an hour or whatever. But yeah. Now.
Stop blaming Nova. It was a good question.
Yeah.
Don't listen to him,
It's all
Nova.
Nova's fault, man. That's all. All right.
Okay. Edison Trent asks, when will we get the cutter salvage variant?
Don't know, but it can't come soon enough because it's making me look like a crazy person. Nobody believes me. So yeah.
You already look like a crazy person because air brakes on a tank.
Right.
Okay.
Do I have to show you the air brakes on the tank? Right. I think we'll do this because then we can just put this to bed. Right.
You're going to show me what you think look like air brakes. I'm going to point out that they could be any one of 100 other different things. We're going to agree to disagree.
No. No, we're not. Let's have a look. Where's the storm? Where is it? There it is. Right. More info. Is this? Have I actually got this up on screen? Yes, I do. Good. Sometimes I switch over and don't bring the audience with us. I need to go to the what's it called? The holo.
You want to go to the release page off the home page, not off the pledge store.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want the holo. No, I want the holo viewer. That doesn't have the holo viewer either. I'm having a brain fart moment. Senior citizen here. I swear, tumbrel. God, what's wrong with me today? Right, T. Right, here we go. Holo viewer. Now, I would go to the other 3D model that I have of this, but they've actually done takedown notices and taken them all down. So I don't have the others, but trust me, I've looked at this very extensively. Can I full screen this? There's a button for full screen, and I always forget what it is. And now I can't find the full screen. Right, so see that panel there that's raised up? You got two hot pistons behind it that lift it up. And in the other model, it's got holes in it like it's an air brake. There's also 2 at the back like that. There's 4 of them. So what are they if they're not air brakes then? Tell me what they are.
So what about that one there that's pointing backwards? Is that an air brake in case it goes diagonally backward?
Maybe it just raises it up.
Because if you look at some of the other art, they've got them on the sides going sideways. So why would you need a tank for a storm to go sideways?
Well, because it all stops the airflow and it works as a brake.
Not if it's only if it's going sideways. When's the storm going to go sideways?
No, the airflow comes down the side of the tank. And then when the flap comes out, it slows down. It's like flaps on a plane, man. They slow it down. Have you never landed on an airstrip before? And they go, poof, and they go.
Go to the homepage.
What's going to be
now? Go open the Storm's actual page. Right. First off,
why do you sound like a dad all of a sudden? This is weird. All right.
Because you're acting like a child. Third one along.
Where is it?
Up. Third along.
That's not.
Well, the fourth if you're in crazy Australia towns.
Right.
There you go. Why is that one on the side, on the back right there? Go up.
Yeah, it's in
Why is that one there? Because that's not acting as a brake if it's in line with the way the tank's going. It's only a brake if it's in opposition to the way the tank's going.
What you reckon?
And my point is, this isn't going to go sideways, so why is the air brake facing that way if it's an air brake?
It's not facing sideways, mate. It's facing forward. It's just the angle of it. Okay,
scroll down.
No.
Go to the image of it jumping.
Oh, that one is sideways. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So what do you think it is then?
Yep. I have no idea, but they're not air brakes. If you also look at the one where it's got all the cutaway, they've got fucking holes in them.
Yeah, which is what they do with air brakes, because it steers the air through them when they put holes in them.
No, they only did that on the wings for dive bombers because they still needed to allow the plane to sustain that for a long period of time.
So you tell me what they are. Tell me what you think they are then.
Not air brakes.
All right, I'm going to poll chat. I think that they can be the tiebreaker. I'm just going to, because you don't.
Also, if they're air brakes, why are they up when it's clearly going forward at full tilt? It's jumping. Why would they want to stop it at that point?
Because you can put it up and down. That's why it's got hydraulics, so you can put the brakes on or off.
But why are they doing it when it's clearly advancing? Don't you want to do it when you want to stop it? You don't have the air brakes up to take off. Have you never taken off in a plane?
No, but like they're just up because they've modeled them. So when you you know how they do T poses, you model them up and out because then they're easy to animate.
Not in the artwork.
Yes, you do.
You don't T-pose people in the artwork.
The person's just done the concept, man. I can't tell you what the concept artist has done in that regard. All right, let me do this. We'll ask people, see what they say. Yeah, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. All right, start poll. All right. Nobody's answered. I think everyone's fallen asleep from us arguing. Maybe. I don't know. No one. All right. 100% no, says Matthew. Yet he hasn't done, and no one's answered on the poll. All right, I'm just trying to see what people are saying. No one's replying. Cool. Everyone's listening. They're all asleep. Cool. Good to know. Okay. Well, people on Twitch agree with you. People on YouTube are asleep. Yeah, they can
cockroach to detect shadows.
But here's the thing: if you turn around and say that no, you can say no, but I want to know what you think they are. Yep. Then you reckon they're just decorative? Is that what you're trying to say?
They could be absolutely fucking anything. They could be shield emitters. They could be detection for
the shield emitters are these. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen trying to move stuff now. Oh God, look what I've done. Right. The shield emitters are those little things, like that one. See that thing there?
How do you know?
Because it's connected to a cable, and it radiates circularly around the outside. Look at them as it spins around.
There's two in there that aren't connected to cables. In fact, there's loads that aren't connected to cables.
Where? All the little ones I'm talking about.
Just behind that one there. That one's not connected to a cable.
Cable's going straight down.
How do you know it's not a
cable
light?
Going straight down. Because it doesn't
have lights
all over it.
Stupid arguments for gods. It's like
there's
you
no
can't
lights.
Explain what it is, therefore it must be God.
You can't explain what it is, so you're telling me that you don't know what it is, and that I should just accept that what I think it is wrong. You give a counter argument. There's no counter argument.
No, what I'm saying is logically they can't be air brakes because you've got some that deploy on the sides, and the tank is not going to slide sideways.
Yes, but you can use them like fins for steering on a plane. I think they've taken the fin analogy from planes, right? All the stuff from planes and put it on this. I actually reckon the sideways ones, now I think about it and thought about it when I said it before. You thought I was joking when I said, oh, it's a rudder. I think they are rudders. I think if they go move backwards and forwards, they help you move while you're in the air. I think they are brakes, and they are literally just like fins on a plane in every single regard. The way flaps work and brake, the way they help you steer in the air. I think it's all part of that. And when you move the when you're steering in the air, I think they'll just use that to explain that you can possibly steer in the air. I think it's all related to that. Think about this. If this is jumping all the time, that allows you to steer while you're in the air.
It doesn't. Just look at the way the pistons are attached to it. That's an up or down. That's not a steering it. It doesn't pivot at one side or the other like an aeroplane would need to do.
So some of them work as air brakes and some of them work for steering. That's what I'm trying to say.
But they're all attached the same way.
Yeah, they just move. It's just like on a plane. Think about on a plane. They all work like that on a plane. They just go backwards and forwards in two directions.
So the ones on the back at the side do that or that, right? Going that way. So how's that helping them to steer? That doesn't help. If I'm going that way, whether it's there, or there, does not help it steer.
So where they're positioned at the moment is the midpoint, so they can go up and down. I can't do it with my hand, but they go both ways, is what I'm trying to say. So if it's up like that at the moment, that's the midpoint. They can go that way or they can go that way.
Yeah, so the ones at the back that are in line with the airflow, that's not acting like a rudder. That's not how rudders work. If that was the case, it would do that, or it would do that to put airflow on one side or the other.
You're thinking of like a boat.
Okay, it acts like the aerofoil on the back of a plane, where it does that, or it does that.
Yeah, you're right.
To turn.
In that regard, you are correct. All right, I guess we'll wait and see what they do then, but whatever.
Fight. Right. Okie dokie. Moving on. It's all got really awkward. Do you think the Perseus, Q Badgers giggling, will see a reconcepting similar to the Polarises? For example, do you think we could see an addition of a small, low-tier medroom or armory? I'm going to go with no. I don't think that's likely. And I'll tell you for why. I think, if anything, it needs a med bed, but it's designed to operate within a fleet. So if it's designed to operate that way, ideally it would have that capability within the fleet anyway from...
Agreed.
Excuse me, Apollos or Galaxies or whatever. So, yeah.
Yep.
Matthew says, I think the Perseus needs bigger guns. Yeah, remains to be seen that. I think they're plenty big enough. But yeah. Okie dokie. Any thoughts on that one, X?
No. My thoughts are pretty much the same as yours. But cool. I don't think it'll get the med bed because, as you said, everything you said, I agree with.
I think it just becomes too much of a... It becomes far too capable.
Every ship needs a positive and a negative. Its negative is the fact that it's got a small crew count, so it has to have limited choices. But the advantage is also its drawback. So its advantage is it gets a small crew count, but the disadvantage is it's got a small crew count for a bigger ship. And so you've got to pick and choose what you get. And so they've gone heavily into defense, so therefore you don't get the medic facilities to go with it. And so it makes it reliant on other ships, and it also shows that it's a short-range ship, not a long-range ship. It is the opposite of the Polaris, because the Polaris has the medical facilities. It is also the offensive craft where it goes out and does the first strike, and it's in and out. It also says that because of its torpedoes. It's trying to reach out as far as it can. It's also got bigger sensors than most of the other ships. It all relates. So, all right, next question.
Okay. So, Nova42 asks, in the Storm video, you mentioned changing it to either a light or a medium tank, which you prefer. It is a light tank at the moment, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And I think that was the point that we were making in the video, Nova, was that if you look at the size of it, especially like the footprint, the horizontal space that it takes up, it takes up so much space, it doesn't leave a lot of room between it and the Nova tank.
Yeah.
So if you're calling it a light, it's like there's very little room for the medium to fit into.
Yeah.
But then if it is a medium, I think everyone's feeling, including SA, who is a ground combat specialist, feels like it's massively undergunned.
Yeah.
And that the size 3 isn't enough because it just can't. It can't. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was going to say that's essentially it. It's either they've got to make it a medium tank or make it a light and tailor it to suit. But what if they go the other way with a medium tank? I've been thinking about this during the week, but not that I agree with it, but maybe it's gameplay reasons. So maybe the medium is smaller but more armored.
Yeah, possibly.
You know, so and one of the reasons why they made this larger, if you think about it, because it is so fast, it's harder to hit. So they kind of the same thing with Crusader. If you think about it, their ships are bigger, but they go faster. So look at the C1, the Cutlass, and the Freelancer. It is clearly the biggest of those three, but it's also the fastest of those three. So you're easy to hit. So it's again advantage and a drawback. So the reason why they made it bigger is basically the medium will be smaller, which it'll piss a lot of people off. I can tell you that right now. They're going to go, "What? Why is this smaller tank the medium one?" But I reckon by the same account, they'll make it look armored as like armored AF.
Yeah, it'll look really solid, I'm sure, because they're very keen that the impression gets there, and I think that so I think the Nova tank is classed as a main battle tank or a heavy. I can't remember quite what they call it now.
Let's have a look.
But a light tank, you know, you would still have a light and medium, or what made sense for me with the Storm that it would be an infantry fighting vehicle, which is a vehicle that can hold up in a gunfight, but also transports a small unit of troops. But if you did that with a Storm, it would completely invalidate the Spartan.
Yep.
So yeah, not ideal.
I'm just trying to see where they put it. It just says combat. They used to have it on this page sometimes. It says combat, but it doesn't say yeah, doesn't say shit. What does it say for the It says combat as well. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. I don't know. Yeah, they're not classified like some of the other vehicles. Well, because they're vehicles, you know, they don't seem to have the same exact classifications. So yeah. Rebel's new tank is a battlefield warrior remains blah blah. Heavy tank. There you go. It does actually say heavy. There you go.
Gotcha. And it does say on the specification for the Tumbrel Storm, light tank on its sheet, the downloadable sheet that's in there. Yeah. So it is there listed. We're not just making that up, I promise. Yeah, and you know, where have you gone? Because Prizor makes a really good point in Twitch chat, which is light, medium, heavy isn't based on size but role. Size is a coincidence in most cases. Yeah, sizes, they kind of go hand in hand. So something isn't a heavy tank because it's the biggest. It's the biggest because it's a heavy tank, and it's not size that drives it. But when you look at the rule of something like,
I do find it. So they are literally they don't call it a light tank, but they call it a mini tank. But it's a mini tank that's the same size as their main tank. So it doesn't doesn't cover it. It's not mini. That's a really bad word usage to call it a mini tank that's as big as the other one. So even their own word usage doesn't make sense. But I think that's what we're trying to get at is most people are saying that the size is related. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, but
yeah, no worries. Yeah, I just think it would be you know, if you look at what a heavy tank has to do in terms of stand up to other tanks, carry a larger weapon, therefore it's larger ammunition, therefore it's more storage, therefore, you know, and then you add on the ablative RB, you add on then the power plant that's needed to shift that, the crew that's needed to deal with that, that it will almost always be that heavy tanks end up being larger. It's not always the case. There are some instances where it's not. But as a general rule, size is a pretty good indication. But yeah, the okie dokie.
The reason I keep coming back to it though is the speed thing. I think they've like look at the M50. Look at the ships that we have problems with right now. The Merle and the M50. Anything that's small and super fast is really hard to hit. So I think their biggest concern, right, and they probably tested it a little bit, right, was if they made a really fast small vehicle that it was just too hard for the well, think about it. If you're trying to counter this and you're in a Nova, you can shoot near a big tank and do damage, but a small vehicle you shoot near it and it completely misses. I think it, like, just from my designer time, my brain is telling me the reason it's bigger is because of gameplay reasons.
And I think the other thing to bear in mind as well, especially with armor, is that armor, just because it's an armored vehicle, so that's what I mean by armor, it's an armored vehicle, doesn't necessarily mean they're all designed to operate in the same battle space, dealing with each other all the time.
Yeah.
So the Storm may well carry or, you know, escort an advanced element forward, provide that kind of deterrence, anti-Atlas suit kind of capability, really be able to pin your opponent down. And then, you know, when it gets to, you know, when you get to engaging heavier units or something that can't, they back out and the heavier units come in. You know, every push by, you know, troops in Iraq and Afghanistan isn't supported by main battle tanks because you might come up against an enemy main battle tank, you know, thinking specifically Iraq more than Afghanistan for the Iraq war. You know, you send in LAVs into towns because they were capable of taking close range hits from big stuff and just keep going. They're not expecting to rock up against a T-72. And if T-72s are reported near there, they would back out and you'd bring up main battle tanks or you'd bring up air support or something that could deal with that safely and then recommit your LAVs. So, yeah, it's not kind of, oh, well, a Tumbrel has to deal with a Nova because, you know, that's clearly a mismatch in this case.
Yeah. I think that, so Nova was talking about, you. I can see it going both ways in regards to the air brakes. That's why I just said I'll wait and see. I had something and it's totally left my head. Anyway, all right, we'll go on to the next question. I don't know if I remember. Actually, Not-A-Tuna. Do you have something nerdy to show off that we can use as a question?
Do I have something nerdy to show off that I can use as a question?
No. Like, to give an example.
Do you have something first?
No. To give an example, I did this for one, and you'll be able to relate to this. So I asked who this is and what is it from. Do you know who it is?
I know the game.
Yeah, which is...
It's not Patches from World of Warcraft, is it?
It is Patches from World of Warcraft. That's oh, no, it's not Patches, it's Stitches. But yeah, close enough.
Stitches, sorry. Yeah. Stitches. I know something like that.
Yeah, and technically, if I want to, like, so he's also in World of Warcraft, but this one is from Heroes of the Storm. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, and... So that, and then if the first person to answer that correctly would be the person. So if you've got something like that, Algared picks a lot of military stuff that not a lot of people know. So if you've got something like that, but don't show it yet until you're ready. So what do you want people to tell you? Do you want it so it's got multiple details? So like the more detailed they are, so do you want it, what do you want to ask? Do you want it to be like what it is and where it's from, or?
So I want to know what this is. who it used to belong to, and more importantly, what's on it.
Okay. I have no idea what this is. Right, go ahead.
Oh, it's going to do that, isn't it?
Oh, I know what it is. I know what it is. I know what it is. I actually know what it is. I do know what's on it. Yeah, I know exactly what it is. Oh, God, because I've got it as well. Yeah, I know what that is. Yeah, I know exactly what that is. No. Yep.
Oh, we got one.
Yeah, Seraph.
We got one.
Yep.
Yep. So what's on it? That's the only thing that's going to.
I think that covers it though, because that's really detailed. Seraph Industries covered it. That's exactly what it is. Oh well. Yeah.
Yep. So I think we definitely got it. We've got the answer, but it is indeed from StarCraft 2, Wings of Liberty. It is John Rayner's dog tag. See if I can take it away from that slightly. It is a USB drive.
Yeah.
And it had the original StarCraft and all the expansions on it.
Yep, that's exactly what it was.
So yeah, and when you plug it in, it lights up, which is kind of cool.
That was a really good one, by the way. And it's told me another one that I'm going to have to go get out of a box.
Basically, if you know collector's edition stuff, you'll probably do pretty well. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. So who got it first?
We'll go. I think the Jim Rayner's dog tags. I think this guy here, Seraph Industries. I think we'll give it to him. Because the fact that it was really detailed, where he said Jim Rayner, I think that's a really big detail, and he did say dog tags. That to me is detailed enough. The only thing he didn't say is that it comes. Or you could also give it to this person here. No, that doesn't count. So the only thing he was really missing was that it has StarCraft on it. But
yeah,
you go down. So Edison kind of says from Wings of Liberty Collector's Edition. There's no one that says it perfectly. Even now, no one said it perfectly. It's a bit of everything. I think he's got it.
That's not an excuse to start typing it now. So
yeah.
No.
All right, Seraph Industries, man. Do you want to wait? Let's flick it over. Do you want to pick a no? Oh, he just goes into the drawer. Man, I'm having a day, man. I'm really having a day. All right, so you're gonna be here at the end, obviously, Seraph. So you'll be one of 3 today. All right. Got you copied in there. Alrighty. But yeah, we will be doing 2 more people on around about the hour, and then at the end, those 3 people will not at the end, but a bit before the end, we'll get them one more nerdy type thing, and the winner of those 3, only those 3 can answer, and then the person that wins that is the person that gets to pick. Now, I will also point this out. And I could be wrong when I say this, but I think there are now 3 ships on there. So you've got a very high likelihood of actually winning a ship today. So there's a Mustang on there, a Nomad, an Ares Inferno, and the last thing left is the skin pack, which is the Crusader one. So there is very high chance you're going to win a ship. 75% chance. So it's pretty damn high. Anyway. Badge, you're cute. Zooming in and out. It's freaking me out. What are you doing? Just freaking me out. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it keeps off-centering me every time I move. It decides to point up into the middle of the room. So, another question?
Yes, please.
So, Prezul asks, do you think the Reclaimer will go up in price? And if so, do you think the Reclaimer to Prowler CCU would be a bad idea? And if so, would the Starliner to Prowler CCU be better?
No, because those links, as I was saying before, as long as the links are there and you've already got the links played, you haven't lost anything, and you can always melt and move off if you need to. So there's never a concern there. Do I think the Reclaimer will go up in price? If they end up including the cutter with it, which is what I think they are going to do, yeah, then absolutely it's going to go up in price. How much will it go up in price? Probably equal to the cost of the cutter. So if they bring it out and it's $70, it could go up by $70. You know, whatever price they end up making it, I would expect, because it says it comes with the cutter, right? So if you're getting one of those cutters for free with your reclaimer. I don't know. You tell me, Badgers. If they all of a sudden brought out a $70 ship and smacked it onto the side of the reclaimer, and it came with that, you would expect that package to go up by a set amount, would you not?
Yes, although the other argument is that they've been saying that it's attached to it anyway. Or the other thing that they could do is say that they could sell it and then go, it's no longer available together. That's not how we've been selling them. I don't know. I think there's a bunch of different things that they could do there. But yeah, I'm
so
steadfast in that if they do it, it's not cutter.
So Kilrath is saying it's a cutter, not the cutter. That's not how English works, but okay, sure. But yeah, okay. I get your point, Kilrath, but yeah. They've been, the fact that they're both called the same name, it would be exceptionally weird. The only other instance of the same name in this game that we have is a skin to a ship, which is the Liberator Valkyrie and the Liberator itself. So yeah, I just can't unsee it as a coincidence, and I don't believe in coincidences, by the way. So yeah, as in you're trying to use the English language to explain why one is one and one is the other. That is what you're trying to do, and I'm trying to tell you that that's not how it works. They're the same name. They're both called cutter. I don't go out and go the execute, execute. I'm just execute, just as it's cutter. That's my point. Anyway, all right. Next question, please, sir.
Okay. North End Trooper asks, do you think the Storm will... no, disregard. I do apologise. I've jumped a question ahead. Survivor Ollie asks, will the Apollo have a cargo bay big enough for an ambulance, Lynx, or Ursa?
I don't think it's got any cargo. Yeah.
It's got no space for... The only thing we know it's going to be able to do is use recovery drones to recover pilots that have ejected.
That said, though,
and obviously that can be done up.
That would be a very popular ship, like a full ambulance solution. That'd be kind of cool. In fact, if I was going to add that to any ship, it would be the Red, believe it or not, because it needs something like that, doesn't it? But we'll see.
Yeah.
Good idea, though.
Yeah, possibly. I think potentially what you might see is that the bed tops double as the drone kind of bit would be quite cool, so that it goes out with this bed attached to the two arms, goes up, scoops someone, puts like an air membrane over them, brings them back into the ship, and then basically almost like posts it back in.
I think you've just nailed it on the head. That's why it doesn't have a vehicle. It's got the drones. It just sends the drones. Why does it need a vehicle when it can just fly and then send the drone in? I think you've just answered.
Because the drones will work equally in atmosphere, I would assume.
Yep.
But yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, North End Trooper, I did finally get your answer to your question. Sorry, bud. Says, do you think the Storm will be a part of the tank/Tonk Royale?
Do you think the Storm will be part of the Tank Royale? I don't get the reference to the question. Sorry. Might just be me.
And he also asks, will this... no, same. Will this Alien Week be higher or lower in revenue in revenue terms than last year's? If we get a new ship, higher. If we don't, lower.
We didn't get one last year, and there's more people in the game than last year, so I think it's higher regardless. But what you said is sound too. Also, if they do have a ship this year, that's obviously going to make it higher. But there was no ship last year, and it still did well. So yeah. What's wrong? Who's behind you?
I have, worryingly, a smell of burning. So I'm going to step away just for a moment. We are reacted to in the stream questions chat. I'm just going to step away just in case something in my house is on fire. If I'm back shortly, no, it's not. If I don't come back and the stream suddenly comes out, yes, it was on fire.
Yes. All right, see you shortly. All right, I guess I'll do the next question while he's dealing with the fire. Right. Stefan says, what kind of effect do you think the performance has on player retention? Onto top spec PCs would be happy to blow away, but a new player would be annoyed, potentially horrified. I actually think it has a big thing on it, especially with what happened with 318. I think a lot of people that play regular games came in. Even if you look at other games with just early access, people are not prepared to give early access a pass. They like most people treat them like a full-fledged game. So this thing comes in, and essentially most people, you would say, generalistically treat this as early access. But we know it's even before early access. So yeah, I think that kind of sums it up if you kind of use that analogy. But yeah, you're like also needing a higher end computer does push a lot of people out, so the performance gets a lot. I think most of the performance issues come from people that just don't have a powerful enough PC, and I've said that for a while. And I can tell you as a content creator, you need a fairly powerful PC to do the extra shit I need to do. Like I've got to have OBS working in the background and stuff like that. So and the only way you can actually alleviate that is to literally have a whole second PC, which I now have. And it does make a difference even on a beefy PC like what I've got. So yeah. Yeah. All right. And I know Badgers would agree to words of that effect as well, because we talked about the past. All right. Timble, who said, oh, not on fire?
Good news. Not burning to death, so we're all right. We're doing okay.
Yep. Was it what type? Wasn't your brand new rabbit? Was it? It didn't walk into the fire.
No, it was not. Which is good news.
Yeah, cool. The question was, what kind of effect do you think the performance has on player retention? Basically, I went down the line of the usual stuff. So, a lot of people that come into this game, their specs aren't high enough, and so they move on. And it's because it's early access, it's less performance based. So, yes, I do think it has an effect. What about you?
Yeah, I think that's just kind of no doubt. Part of me does think that people need to read the notices that pop up. And I think a lot of people now, I mean, Star Citizen's known within the gaming community, if not directly, if just by reputation. So anyone buying into it, hopefully, will do a little bit of research and then notice that it is a buggy, unoptimized mess. But hopefully understand why as well.
All right, next question from Tim Bell, who says, I am able to pick up non-meltable Polaris for 240 USD. I'm extremely skeptical that I can field crew since I mainly fit alone. Is it worth it, or keeping my $300 meltable Perseus? That's up to you, mate. I think at the end of the day, though, you are going to have AI crew as well. I also think if you have, what's the old saying? Build it and they will come. The fact that you've got a Polaris and there is a person out there that's just rocking around in their Mustang and all their Aurora, and they can come and play with you and make heaps more money and make friends. This game is clearly, if you look at the way it's structured, not forcing us, but pushing us towards working together. All the big end ships all go into multi-crew. Or, all the low end stuff. And so basically what they're trying to get you to do is to work together to have these massive epic fleet battles. That's essentially what they're trying to do. They want you to work together, make friends, all that type of thing. It is pushing you towards that. And you can clearly see the more soloistic something is. And we look at the Nova to the Storm. They're two very low end things, but you've got one that requires 3 people and it's a heavy main battle tank. Then you've got a light battle tank that's solo on its own. You can see advantages to both, but you would clearly agree with me, Badgers, that the 3-person one is going to be stronger than a singular, just by the nature of 1 versus 3, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to a bunch of things, mate. It comes down to, first and foremost, what do you want to do in the game?
Yep.
If you can't see yourself playing with other people and it's just not your thing and you want to do what you want to do when you want to do it, you're going to struggle with both, if I'm being honest.
Well, he's saying,
neither of those is designed for single people.
Yeah, so he's saying Perseus versus Polaris. So you essentially got an offensive versus defensive, and the obvious advantage is the Perseus only requires 4 people as opposed to, I think, the minimum on the Polaris is 8. But again, I think we're going to get updated stats on the Polaris as well when that comes around. I also think they've got, it's the gameplay too. Let me put it this way: I don't think the number of people is going to be the big concern that people are worrying it is going to be, because they will have rating systems in place to make people don't act stupidly. They'll also have player finding facilities, and also there's AI. At the end of the day, it obviously will be harder to man a Polaris than a Perseus because there's more people required or more AI required. But you'll probably also make more money on the Polaris than you will on the Perseus because it requires more people. That simple. The more people required, risk versus reward analogy, right? So if you require more of something, it costs more, but therefore you get more for doing stuff. It's that simple at the end of the day. And I think you would agree with me, though, if he can get a $250 Polaris versus a 300, what did you say, 380
Perseus.
I'd go the Polaris because you can take the Polaris and earn down to the Perseus as well.
I would go with what you want to do, fella. And I mean, if you're looking at 240 that isn't meltable, and there is a timer attached to that, i.e. that's not always going to be available, then certainly you can go back to that, and maybe do that. But I think loads of comments popping up about the same thing, which is you've got plenty of time to find yourself an org, because if that's something you want to do, and if it's not, what I would do, or if you're not sure, you've got a hammerhead for your Perseus. Go out and try to regularly find 6 or 7 people.
Can I get an answer to this question, though? The Polaris, which is a bigger ship, and it's cheaper than the Perseus that costs less. The Polaris has to win that because it's bigger, and you can but you can earn down, yeah? You can't earn up as easily. So the cheaper one is the smarter way to go if you think about it. Taking the people out of the equation and just simplifying it, right? A bigger, more expensive ship for less seems like the no-brainer.
Yes, when you're not talking about games.
Agreed.
When you're talking about games, all bets are out the window. Yeah. And it really does have to be kind of, exactly that. I would say, take a hammerhead, try and get some people on it on a regular basis, see if you can have some fun with like the high risk bounties, and go and maybe do some PvP if that's what you're into.
The Hammerhead's not a good one though, because it's so singly role focused. I think, and actually will say there's probably a similarity between the Hammerhead and the Perseus in that regard. The Polaris can also do multiple roles because the Hanger, it's got a more of a support thing. And I kind of agree. Someone in Twitch, Pre-Soul said the Polaris will be easy to find a crew for since it can do more. And I kind of agree with that, because because of the Hanger, there is a multi-rolled aspect to the Polaris that the Hammerhead and the Perseus don't have, because they are so more singular focused in my book.
But if his immediate problem that is he can't find the crew, if he can't find a crew for the Hammerhead, this entire conversation is moot, and he needs to focus on single player.
You're talking now versus release, and at release it's going to be a completely different story because of the AI and the player finding systems that we just don't have right now. So they're all going to be there at release. So right now, I'd 100% agree with you, but at release, definitely not. I think there'll be. I actually agree with Pre-Soul almost 100%. Polaris will be easy to find a crew for since it can do more. Doing more likely to find people for. I would be going
absolutely, but if you don't enjoy playing with other people, that's worse.
Oh, that's true, but he didn't say that though in his question.
No,
but I do agree.
Which is why I'm giving him both perspectives and not shutting down one or the other. So
if it's purely financial though, but if it is purely financial, the Polaris makes the most sense. But what Algared, what Badger, I called you Algared, yeah, you look like that. What Badger said does make sense. You do need to factor in your gameplay. This is essentially a mini Fix My Fleet, by the way. This is the type of thing we'd have to sit down and actually get responses from Timbrel.
Just be aware that it's not a unanimous viewpoint.
No, it's never unanimous.
what I mean is that earning down is going to be as easy as that.
It's going to definitely,
because nothing's promised at the moment.
It's definitely going to be easier than earning up, though. That's my point. You can talk about how hard or easy it is going to be to earn down. It is definitely going to be easier than earning up, though. 100%. Every game we've ever played in existence will tell you that. It's just like in real life. Like going from your first car to your second is generally an upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, which is great, except they've already stated that ships like the Javelin won't be earning people any money because it's going to cost so much to run. It's not earning you money. Well, it's a money pit. So no, going to the largest ship available that we can buy isn't earning down squat, because even if a Javelin's doing ERTs all the time, it's not earning enough to pay for itself.
It's a deterrent, though, so it pays for itself in other means. All right.
I agree.
Next question.
When it comes to earning down.
Next question, please.
Yeah. So Squad 710.
We're getting into semantics. So yeah, next one.
I'll let you have that one for free, but that's the last one you have for free. Does the original concept Carrack come with any modules or Pisces or ASO with it? What's the difference with the Carrack and Expedition? I bought an OC Carrack and I have an Expedition too. Expedition comes with the Expedition Pisces and an Ursa, I believe.
Yes.
And
so the
original concept.
The modules will just be the default modules that come with. They have never told us, like, we know it's modular, but they have not told us the modules that's coming with. And I think that clearly shows, much like what they've done with the Expedition Carrack and Pisces, that they'll probably have CCU upgrades down the line. So let's just say, for argument's sake, they bring out humanitarian aid Carrack, and it might come with a C8R and a bunch of hospital modules or something like that, and then they'll charge X amount of dollars for you to spin off into it. You know, kind of like what the way I would look at it, you correct me if you think I'm wrong here, Badgers, is almost like the Endeavor Hope. You know how you've got the different modularized Endeavors? It'd be the same thing with the Carrack, but I don't think they'll do that until they're ready to sell the modules. Yeah, and in a turn of phrase, the probably best one to keep is just the default and earn the modules in game.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think of it from a purely kind of capitalist point of view, it makes sense that if you're going to get someone to buy a Carrack, maybe you lump in a Pisces and like X says, right? So you get the C8R, and then you get a medical version of the Lynx or the Rover. And then you go, okay, together these two things are 80 quid, so we're going to give them to people for 60. On top of the Carrack they've already bought, if you already own one, there's your upgrade for the OCs. Or if you buy a Carrack, we get a £60, we get a $60, you know, kind of on top purchase by upselling them to a Carrack, you know, Hope or a Carrack, you know. Humanitarian edition or whatever it is. So yeah, it makes sense that will come, and you'll start to get these little packs that kind of upsell ships that people already have. Because I think CIG have certainly heard the message. Oh, you know, why would I pay 40 quid for it when a day of hard gaming gets me one in game?
Yeah,
you know, and I could save that. You know, that 40 quid is my fucking rather large Chinese takeaway this evening rather than buying the ship, right? So yeah, there's all sorts of ones you can do with that. But yeah, I think so. Shinobi Trip asks, do you think they will make an alien starter ship, Xi'an or Tavaran, or of course something else? But he didn't ask that. I know that bit on the end.
It's not a bad idea though.
Alien stuff.
I do think though, like, again, come back to that whole expansion pack idea, they're going to need starter ships from the aliens. So if they chuck ones in now, they've got nothing new to show us when the expansion pack comes along, you know. And they're not going to want to. Well, you tell me. Do you really think they're going to want 5 Zion alien starting ships? Might want 1 or 2, and then they'll just chuck a couple of human ones across. You know, they're not going to want to. Like, seriously? I don't know. Like, I worked that out. Like 5 alien starter ships. Like, it's a bit of a flooded pool at that point, would it not be?
And I think making that something that is unique to an expansion gives, you know, us original backers a reason to want to go and buy it. To lock it to an expansion, although I know that would also piss a lot of people off.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I think at the minute, if you look at the smaller alien ships, there really isn't an obvious that you're all paying the alien tax for them. So compared to equivalent, like there is no alien ship out there that can even begin to match the Avenger or the Cutter for what they can do.
Yeah.
And a lot of the small ones, I'm thinking the Shrike, the Talon, they are quite niche. They're not.
Yep.
They're not your bog standard brawlers. They're, you know, they're.
Yeah.
You have them for specific purposes, and
it's like
pilots who find that really get on with that.
It's like I was saying, like in the real world, like the generalistic low end stuff doesn't seem to go across borders, but the higher, more quality, more, you know, things do. So, for example, in different countries, you have very. Oh, this is going to be a really bad reference. Food is an interesting one. You know, we have food, really high quality food. You know, like you can get Italian, Mexican, Indian, all that. Those mainstays are the ones that go across. But then you can get the actual company that makes the food. You have different localizations. So what I'm thinking is, if you did have 5 alien ships, they'd probably be almost very similar to what the humans ones do, but you can only get them in Zion space, but they don't bother bringing them here because they've already got the Aurora here. So you could literally just take the same 5 starter ships and essentially reskin them into alien variants, but they're pretty much exactly the same because they generalistically do the same job. So what you were saying about the Avenger and stuff like that, they could ritual them and it wouldn't be a problem because generalistically you just wouldn't sell them in human space, so to speak. You could fly one across, and I'm the exotic starter ship sale guy, but who's going to buy them? It's like, well, I pay, you know, I've got to pay an extra 20% to get this alien Avenger, or I could just get the Avenger. I'll just get the alien because I'm going to step over it anyway and go to something else. You see what I mean? So that's kind of what happens in real life. You can splurge to get that rarer thing, but it's generally not really worth it. And there's usually an alternative. You can do the same thing. I'm trying to think of a really good example, but I don't have a clear one. But like when I go on Amazon as Australian, they'll often recommend almost an identical product with a different logo or name on it, and it'll cost me 2 to 3 times as much to buy it because it's an American brand, or I can just buy the Australian one and it's cheaper. And you look at reviews and there's actually like almost no difference at all. But all the guides, because they're generally written for American audiences, all say, get this one. And they don't even mention this one because the person in America brought their local one and didn't even, you know, and it's not until you get onto a site and someone's gone to the effort to buy both and gone, there is no difference. So, yeah, it's a really bad way to explain it, but I can't think of another way to explain it. Do you get what I'm trying to say, or...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Right.
And I just, I think it's, you know, as a slightly shorter answer to your question, Shinobi, I think it's a really, really nice idea, but I think X is right. That's much more likely with expansion packs, and potentially the ability to play other species.
Yep. Okay. Sorry, that's the short version of my very long answer, right?
Okie dokie. Matthew asks, do you think the Prowler will come out with all of its features? Undetectable stealth, Gravlev latching to ship hulls, heavy armor, good maneuverability, etc., etc.
Well, technically, there's no real stealth in the game. It's just lower signatures, yeah?
Yeah. I don't think they're going to add that for that reason. I think undetectable stealth makes it ridiculously overpowered. And you can imagine straight away, it's like, you know, well, hang on, why are we giving people the ability to have stealth better than the current military? So I think, you know, Asperia will just go, oops, sorry. We've stealthed it up as much as we can without breaching UEE law and making it basically a military ship.
There is no undetectable stealth because if someone's looking out the window and they see it coming, you know, It's stealth up to a certain point. And if there's someone on the gun turrets, so pick your ship. If someone's just sitting on the gun turret, as there should be, should there not? You would expect that in a really big ship, you'd at least have one or two. Like there might be, like let's take a javelin. There's 4 turrets on each side. As you'd expect at least one of those to be manned at all times on either side, so you would see them coming. I don't know. I don't think there is a thing as undetectable self too. And if the person that is doing the scanning is doing their job, they're probably rotating through different signatures too. And are more than likely it's when they detect them, like if they can get in and they're on the hole and then, in the middle of it, I don't know. We don't quite know how that's going to pan out. We need more signature gameplay. But undetectable stealth, I think that is marketing speak. Everything in this game tells me there's no stealth like that.
And the maglev latching to ship holes, I'd be surprised if it gets that. But I hope it maneuvers.
I could see that.
Yeah. I hope it maneuvers better than it does at the minute. Because the last time I flew it, it flew a little bit like a brick.
Yeah. They did actually talk about, so that maglev stuff is essentially, you think of like a dragonfly, it just allows it to hover. And they even talked about it like dropping from really great heights, and it can't actually bang into the ground when that's turned on. It literally is like a dampening system. So if you think of a hover bike on the whole, you've got, it's just taking tech that we already have and putting it somewhere else. It's totally possible. It's just it's just turning essentially the surface of a planet becomes the surface of a ship. It's totally possible. It's just totally possible.
I do like the idea of, when you say the maneuverability of, especially when it's deployed in VTOL mode, because VTOL mode for this thing deploys the wings.
Yep.
So those wings that deploy at the side and sit out like spokes.
Yep.
The idea is that your troops are dropping behind that and using for cover.
Yep.
So if you imagine a Black Hawk with people roping out of it over the roof of a building, this could be the pad of an underground facility. Your guys get out, they're shooting, and as they're doing that, you in the pilot are just jinking it sideways towards the entrance.
Yep.
So that cover is constantly movable, and you're getting right up to the entrance, and you got all the guys in the airlock trying to get out and get away from you because they can see what's going on. And you use that to breach.
There's really good gameplay there because that requires communication. Anywhere where you've got to communicate with each other, it instantly makes things better. Teamwork makes the dream work. So anything, anything where you've got to communicate, because anyone will tell you, like, how many games have you and I played together where just you and I working together can totally change the outcome of the entire game. And we'll go in there and there might be 20 other people. Yeah, exactly. There'll be like 20 other people playing, and they just get decimated by just me and you working together. And it's
you were designating targets, giving them a number, and then you'd use your distortion to strip the shields out.
Yep.
And then you just go target one and go, and I go, okay, hit target one, slew onto it, and then just strip the hell out of it once the shields were down.
Yep.
And that was it. And we just rinse and repeat. And it's such a simple thing to do in a 2-person ship. But it's so, like, I think I said to you at the time, I was like, this is some of the most fun I've had in Star Citizen. Just for that very simple, we came up with something and it worked really well.
And obviously,
to come on,
I was going to say, it obviously gets more complicated the more people you add, right?
Yes.
But the more people you add, because of the complexity, the more damage you can do. Like, that's what I'm saying. So just roll that up. And as you roll it up and you go up into more and more people, so you get up to, what's the Javelin, 83 people or whatever, that should be the reward. If you can get 83 people to work together like 2 people can, that's just it. And I know it sounds stupid, but that is how it will work, because it's very hard to get 83 people working as a think about all the raids that you and I have done in World of Warcraft and stuff like that. A 25-person raid versus a 10-person raid back in the day. The 25 was so much harder to get organized, so much harder to get working like an fine oiled machine, but when you did it, you got better rewards. It's just that simple. Yeah. All right, sorry. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's it. Matthew says it said the Prowler would sneak up on capital ships without being spotted. Yeah, so that's how the Prowler earned its infamy, because the Tavaran, during the Tavaran Wars, were using it to sneak up. I'd be very surprised in lore if the UE Navy were like, sure, let civilians do it too. Just copy all of that tech into that thing and then give it to civilians who can do whatever they want to it. So I'm sure Asperia will try and get as close to that as they can. However, it won't be quite as effective as the Tavaran originals. And, you know, maybe that'll be really cool, because maybe in the fleet you do come across some originals. Maybe you get to steal one.
Isn't it like 600 years on from the war? It's also 600 years is a fair bit of time. So you'd... Back then, yeah, it was amazing. Now, 600 years later, not so amazing anymore.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah,
Kind of like
absolutely.
you and me. We've gone on we used to be amazing, but now we're not so amazing anymore. We've aged like fine wine.
We've always been amazing, mate. It's the like we're slowly becoming kind of mirror images of each other.
Yeah, you're starting to copy me. It's freaking me out. Yeah, taking execute fashion tips or something. I don't know what's going on.
Never taking execute fashion tips. Not once. But yeah. So yes. Quantum Kazi 33 asks, what is white box? Heard that CIG began preparing the RSI Polaris for white box.
Yep.
Yes, this was the this was in the comlink yesterday.
So essentially, without going into super hyper detail, white box is when they're kind of laying everything out. Grey box is where they start to physically model those things into the correct positions, and then after that they start doing texturing and final art and stuff like that. So it's just the next step in the chain. So if you kind of think about white box is essentially instead, you know, where they drew it all on paper, essentially, now they're taking that in and they're starting to lay it out in the physical space, because some, you know, best laid plans on paper are awesome, but then as soon as you physicalize it in 3D, some things need to change. Some angle might not be there. Something that you didn't see on the paper. And I think can you relate to what I'm saying there? Like when you have things on paper and then you put them down and it's like, oh, okay, that doesn't work all of a sudden. So it's to work out the nitty gritties before you actually go into commencing the work. It kind of gives you an opportunity to finalize and make sure everything works. And we have seen white boxes before, like the Odyssey and stuff like that. So it's a 3D planning phase is probably easiest way to explain what white box is.
Yeah, I must admit, it's one of the things I've got on my little. I've got a little pad down here with a list of things to do, ready for episodes and stuff. And one of them is to kind of talk through, using CIG's own words, their ship design process from start to finish. So using white box, grey box, you know.
So what's the video
lighting
called?
passes and
explaining the ship pipeline.
Cleaning
the pipes with badgers.
Ship in the pipe.
Yeah.
That's going to be it.
5 by 5.
There we go. 5 by 5. Yeah. But yeah, so something like that. But I must admit, I haven't gone and looked. So, yes is the answer. X covered it. It's that, you know.
The reason they call it white boxing, by the way, is because generally they when they lay out those boxes in a 3D program, they're white by default, and then when you apply a texture, they used to go to a color. They went to the grey box before they loaded the texture, and that's where the names have come from. It's from back in the day. They're not because of any color reference. It's just because that's what the softwares used to be. It's not something was chosen. It's just that's how it used to happen. And when I'm thinking back to 3D Studio Max, they used to be they used to have a white, and then when you applied a texture, they went to grey. So that's why it went white box, grey box. That's where that turn of phrases come from. It's not anything that was picked. It was picked by a programmer. So yeah.
Whilst X clears the pipes, a question from Brad: should CIG be worried about Starfield? It's clear that Bethesda is taking a lot of inspiration from CIG's project.
Single player.
Given what happened with their vampire game that released, whatever it was, Red something.
Redfall.
Yeah, don't be worried, like at all.
So Redfall's really interesting.
Also massively different games.
So Redfall was really interesting because it was actually designed, like it came out this week, why the game was so bad. It was originally designed by ZeniMax for sale of ZeniMax and they were trying to sell off the company. And it was another live service game that got pivoted and changed because they realized live services was just not working. Because again, a lot of money people follow trends. That's why you get all these bad trends. Because like, well, look at PUBG, and then there was a shit ton of battle royales. It's like, well, they're making a shit ton of money. I'll just copy them. And that's why we get all these trends, because money people don't actually know the gaming industry. They just know money. And they're like, that's making a shitload of money. I'll do the same thing and make a shit ton of money. And that's why you don't get a lot of original games anymore, because they're not prepared to bet on. They're not creative people. They're financial people. They want stability and things that they can bet on, or not bet on, but like that are secure, that is going to double their money essentially, right? So they like a new game designer comes on and goes, I have this great idea for a new game, but they can't see that game because then a lot of them aren't gamers, you know? So when Chris Roberts comes out and say, I want to make this, and they go, no, I don't see it because it's too new. That's why we would not be here with a publisher model, as I've said before. So
yeah. And it can confirm I'm one of the few people that actually paid for Fortnite. Because before it became a battle royale game, it was actually a game with its own persistence. You had bases. There was the storm thing that aliens would come out, and it was a 4-player co-op.
Me and my brother. Me and my brother's a game reviewer, by the way. So me and my brother played the utter shit out of that, and then they released the foundation packs. But we decided not to buy it. We're like, this is just too expensive. We'll wait, and the price will drop. We waited, and then it turned into Fortnite. And we're like, oh, we dodged a bullet there.
Yeah, that's it. And I think, do you know what? Sereth has said exactly what he needed to, what I was going to say. So I'll just read out what Sereth Industries has said instead. Starfield will be nothing like Star Citizen. It will be a quintessential Bethesda RPG. Plenty of space fans will play both, but neither game is really capable of stealing players from the other, and because they're so fundamentally different.
I would say, if Starfield is a single player game, and I think we would have to agree it's a very story driven experience. And I think, and I agree with you. I don't think they are going to steal each other's audience. There are a lot of people that like single player games. There's a lot of people that don't like single player games. I think there is definitely room for both. I'll probably play Starfield. I played Fallout 3, and I didn't mind that, but I didn't like the first 2 Fallouts. So, you know, different for everyone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think that there are lots of games coming out and at the moment that people they come out and they look great and they play great. So Hogwarts Legacy was one. Hopefully Starfield will be another. The problem is these are single player games. When you play through the content,
I didn't play Hogwarts. I didn't play it. No. Because if it would have been multiplayer, I probably would have played it. But the fact that it was single player, I was just like, I've got no interest. Especially at the price. I'll just wait. Well, I was like, well, it's single player. It's not going to change. I'll wait 2 or 3 years, get the collector's all-in DLC edition, and then play that if I'm interested. But I was just old enough to kind of miss the Harry Potter thing. Like, I've got all the movies, right? But it just didn't quite speak to me.
I mean, you look at what makes single player games go now, and Edison Trent's just mentioned it. Skyrim.
Yep.
If I could define that game in one sentence, mod it till it breaks. And that is literally it. And that's what made Skyrim last as long as it has done. Is you can mod the living crap out of it, and the detailing of the game was so in depth that you could get it to do so much stuff that you wanted it to do.
Yeah, I think
but no one's looking at these games like Hogwarts and going, okay, let's say 45 hours of gameplay, and let's say this game, let's say people on average, not us lot obviously because we're hardcore, but the average gamer plays 12 hours a week.
Yep.
Right. So 4 weeks later, of course, the game's dropped off, and then you get all of these kind of news articles saying 4 weeks later, and almost no one is playing Hogwarts Legacy, or almost no one is playing Starfield, and it's like, what a shock!
It's like journalists don't know the gaming industry.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're not gaming journalists.
And then you look at games like Arma 2 and Arma 3. They're multiplayer, which is key, but look at the modding that's been done to them. I mean, DayZ. Again, you know, all the Battle Royale stuff made it into Arma 2 and Arma 3. They're multi-vehicles, you've got ground vehicles, you've got ships, you've got aircraft. That's what... Sorry.
So my biggest concern is the same concern I had with Fallout, right? That engine, they keep saying it's a new engine, so they added new renderers to it. So it's the same thing as Star... Would you call Star Citizen a new engine when they add Vulkan and they add DirectX 12?
It's not the same engine.
It's a modified version. So this is not a new engine that they're doing. They've just... The same thing they've been doing since all the way back since Morrowind and all the four. It's the same engine that's just been upgraded and upgraded and upgraded. They should have chucked it the hell out and just gone to Unreal or something like that. My biggest problem when I played Fallout was just how buggy that engine is. It feels like you're playing on an engine that's 10 years older than it should be, and it is super jank. Now, to be honest with you, the gameplay it carries the shit out of I'm forgetting the name of the studio, the Bethesda Studios games, right? It carries the shit out of it. But if they could remove that jank, and the only way they're going to remove that jank is a complete new engine, not an engine overhaul, which they've been trying to do for years and years and years. But the reason they won't is they're worried about the time it's going to take. So,
yeah, it's really interesting because chat's really picking up on this as well. It's an interesting rabbit hole to go down, because games that are only single player do not have the longevity by and large. Skyrim was an anomaly, and it was only because of the underlying systems. So what's really interesting, and this is probably a good time to talk about it, is let's take two games that should have been treated the same way, and for exactly the same reason that Execute says, i.e. one of them is very heavily controlled by the investors and one isn't.
Yep.
Hello Games and No Man's Sky.
Yep.
CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk. Now, when Hello Games released theirs, they were a studio without any other games under the belt.
Yep.
So that was that they couldn't survive if they didn't fix No Man's Sky. So they fixed it, and if you look at it now, player numbers have gone up, which is weird. Now we've got multiplayer and everything else that we were promised.
Yep.
And No Man's Sky is actually worth a punt.
Yep.
If you played it and you haven't played it since, go back and have it a go.
I want to add one more thing to that, because I think it shows some insight to SC. So if they released SC tomorrow and then did what No Man's Sky did and spend the next 10 years fixing it with that bad rep, or do you think it's better to keep it all secret under wraps, polish the absolute shit out of it, and just release it once? And I think what SC is doing is the much far better way to go, because you only get the one chance to make a first impression. If that thing comes out of the gate and just absolutely hits it for 6, shuts everybody up, and it's just like 9 out of 10 game or whatever score it's going to be, because not every game is for everyone. It's like FIFA. FIFA makes shitloads of money, but not everyone plays it, right? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
If this comes out and it's generally wildly successful for a single player game, or even if it's only successful in that niche of the people that like space games.
Yeah. What happened if they took us back to now? What if CD Projekt Red went, right, everything else is on hold. We are going to develop Cyberpunk to where it should be. We're going to add multiplayer in that we took out. We're going to do all this sort of stuff, and then turned it into what they promised us.
Do you think, real quick, that's what the Liberty DLC is kind of looking at doing? Because they've taken 2 years with that. That's quite a substantial amount of time.
Unfortunately, they've already made the announcement that after that they're going to focus on Witcher 4 and the other one.
Yeah, because they've also realized all the problems of their own build engine and moved on till they're going to go into Unreal 5. The other thing that I find really interesting is the amount of money that they took out of the Polish government to make that game, and then they just dumped the engine. So it's a dead-end project in terminal sense. So the biggest problem with Cyberpunk is all the money investment that they put into it, and because they just didn't finish the engine, the least bit that they can take is the concept of how that all works and what they learned, because it's bespoke, and copy it over and go, let's rebuild the whole thing on Unreal. So a lot of people go, oh, what a waste, right? Like I even said it myself just then, what a waste. But it's that knowledge and the planning and the structure and all that. And if you ever build anything, or you've built anything yourself, the planning and the structure and all that is most of the time anyway. The actual, like you can spend 90% of the time planning, and it only takes 10% of the time to build it. So if they can take, as long as they've got the people that built that and they've retained them, they can turn around and replicate it fairly quickly. I'm not going to say it's going to be instantaneous, but they can replicate it a lot quicker because they've learned that.
Yeah,
it's the same. You can even look at iCache to Pez. Pez came a lot quicker than iCache did because they learnt with iCache what they couldn't do and took that knowledge, and that allowed them hone that into Pez.
Yeah.
I hope that's a...
And unfortunately, what we're consistently seeing here is, as you say, that money men, the investors, look for recognizable patterns and think that it's a print, cut and paste. Someone just said it in there. Chris Bates said, I'm practically sick of the copy-paste game development. Mm-hmm. And the problem with CD Projekt Red is because they have other very, very lucrative titles, Witcher, to go back to, they've got no issue. They've got no intent to go and fix it, because that's not what their investors want. They want money now. It's one of the things that I said. I think one of the first videos that I put out about Star Citizen was that if nothing else, what Star Citizen needs to achieve is to show to the rest of the gaming industry, this is what is possible when you give people what they want, and you will not be tied to deadlines. You will not be forced into release it now and fix it afterwards. You won't have your arms tied with ridiculous release dates and then having to apologize and again and again and again. But also, I think one of the things that we need to do, this is a covenant, right? It's a pact.
Yeah.
If we are sick of seeing games released early, stop losing your shit when games are delayed.
Yeah. It's a catch-22, isn't it? You can't have it both ways. You got to pick one. And I'm telling you, I'd pick the Star Citizen one every day of the week, because I'm sick of seeing shit like... And the thing is, the money people have learned that they can get away with it. So they will go, oh, we've got this many pre-orders, that covers all our costs and we will make money, right? Plus we know people are going to buy this on day one and be fooled. They're here to make money. They're not here to make good games, so they just fucking release it. And I'll give you a really good example. There's also when you go in with investors, there are contractual obligations. So let's look at Darktide as an example, right? Now, I know you didn't like that game, but I want to use that as a really good example. It had a 90% of the player base fall off after 2 months of the game coming out because they released it. And one of the contractual obligations they had was, it was one of the NVIDIA games. You know how NVIDIA sell it with their graphics cards? So it had to come out because there were NVIDIA graphics cards sold with that game. It had to release. There was no option, right? So the game wasn't ready, but they had to release it anyway. Right? And that's what you don't want. You know, it's the same thing happened with Cyberpunk too, because Cyberpunk was an NVIDIA game. So it had to release within a certain time frame because they would have broken contracts with NVIDIA. NVIDIA will just turn around and sue for losses. So they have to do that shit. So again, all these when money comes in, it affects the development of games. Yes, you're still just as ugly. Right. So when
despite the tanning, like the reflection of my skin forced my camera to go blurry. That was quite impressive. But yeah, no, you're exactly right. And, you know, look, one of the things that I will say to us is...
That's a really good... Sorry. Anthem is a really good example. That is a game, though, that was caught in development hell, where there was a lot of people at Bethesda, like that started from someone, and people left. And so the person that had the vision for that left, someone else came in and took it over because they'd spent so much money on it. You see that too. They're like, even have another one was Knights of the Republic. They made Knights of the Republic. It was awesome. All the people that made Knights of the Republic were from the original KOTOR group. As soon as they got the MMO finished, they all fucked off and left. And so basically over the next couple of years, it went down and up, and it went through different developers. And that game has never really retained the level that it was initially because people moved on. It's the same thing. Banner Merchantman's an example. The guy that made the Banner Merchantman, he just fucking left CIG. And that's why there's a pin in it. Now, they can say it's because there's no shops in game, blah, blah, blah. But we all know it's because the person working on it left. Can't make a ship if you know, so someone's now got to go learn the Banner Merchantman art style and train into his footsteps and then start working on it. And that's going to take time. Now, I assure you they've assigned someone to that. But how long is it going to take him to bring him up to speed? How long is he going to take to get into that ballpark, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's... Monster Avi's got it as well. You mean 2K23 won't be in an all-new game? No, it won't, shockingly. But, you know, the other side of this is that the investors forced CD Projekt Red to release Cyberpunk because they wanted their shit now.
Yep.
Right? They put up with 2 delays, they wanted their shit now.
Yep.
People who are sat here going, this game just needs to release, are no different to those investors. You just want your shit now.
Yeah. And the irony
right?
when they turn around and then sue them because they didn't make enough money.
CD Projekt Red, the developers got death threats from the gaming community. Now, those people are not my people.
Yeah.
Like, they had no choice at all. And this is the problem with money men. We are the money men. And if we all, and I'm not going to say you because there's no difference.
Yeah.
If we all start going, we want it now, we are no different.
They can't.
This game is always going to take forever. You can't, you know, you can't get something that is this different on demand. It's not going to happen.
You can't. They come out and people say why they can't come out and just say the truth and tell us it's because the money men. Well, they can't because then they piss off their investors and they won't invest with them again. It's just that simple. They're playing between two sides, right? And the advantage of Star Citizen is the fact that it just doesn't have those money men. And in fact, they do have some of those money men. The 54 million they ended up taking from that family, and it formed the board. And now the board's holding them back. Because now the board has control of certain things. And so now Chris can't just do what he wanted to do. He has to do it within their time frame. I'm going to be honest, the worst thing that has ever happened to Star System was that board. And it didn't need to happen because he was down to 8 million. He was worried he was going to run out of money. The very next year, literally, like COVID hit and literally record numbers of funding. He didn't need them. And he sold off like, what, 10% of the company or whatever. So they're going to make a shit ton of money, be in his way, where if they just got out of his way and let him do what he wanted to do, this feature creep that they worry about and the things that he talks about, I don't have a problem with feature creep because what he's talking about, when he says feature creep or he says something, that's something, he's not putting a date on that. He's saying, this is something I want to work towards, and it could be 20 years away. Right? That's all he's ever saying. But people, whenever he opens his mouth, people say there's a promise. It's not a promise. It's, hey, I've got this idea that I want to do. Got to do all these things beforehand. But people don't hear that. They go, next week, this will be here. That's not how it works. People just don't use logic. All right.
Misfit says the only difference is that companies like CD Projekt Red have to respect their money man. No, they have to do what they say. Trust me, as someone who's worked for a whole range of officers, from the very good to the I wouldn't trust you to run a bath, let alone run a warship. You can follow people's instructions without ever respecting them. Trust me. It's you know, and I think I get it. What you Unlimited Respawns are saying, which is some of the messages that came out about we're not going to give you so big a look into the future. That was a mistake by CIG.
Nuggless, first time chatter on Twitch, says, you want faster? Go to school for coding and apply for a job at CIG. Absolutely agree with that statement.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, right. We've
Beating that dead
banged
horse.
on. Yes, we are kicking the proverbial out of it. Kelrath, I thought you'd like that one, mate. Okay, so Waterpark asks, will it be worth it to CCU from a Titan to a C1 when the C1 eventually comes out? Whatever way you go on that, mate, decide before the C1 comes out and get your CCU before the C1 comes out. Because
you could also just get the CCU and sit on it and decide when it does come out.
Yeah, it's because if you, let's say you buy it now and you find a $5 and the C1 goes up $20, it's now worth $25. If you wait till afterwards, your CCU, you'll be paying the full value. So
at that price point, it'll go up $10.
Mm-hmm.
Your point is still.
But yeah, have a make sure that if you are going to, even if you're thinking about it, have the CCU parked, and it needs to be in your hangar, not your buybacks. If it's in your buybacks, it does not count. Okay, it needs to be owned by you at that point.
That's correct.
Okay. Eminent Shadow asks, with racing getting more attention and becoming more popular, is it time for an Origin 150R racing variant?
150R
yes.
racing variant.
I agree.
Yeah, I could see that. I could totally see. I'm actually surprised there isn't one. Actually, now I think about it, what would you call it? 150R. Yeah. Why isn't there 150R? That makes a lot of sense. That's actually the only thing that does make sense about the 100 series. Now I think about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't there 150R? Yeah. That's kind of weird. And it should be red because the black's already taken. And that became the combat variant, so you take the one of the combat variant, so the red one. And red, we all know red goes faster. So yeah, red and black, execute colors. Come on, let's do it. The gold too. Why not? Right, next question. Unless you disagree.
Okie dokie. So Guns and Glue asks, can the double barrel storm cannon do anti-infantry well, or is the lack of an anti-infantry gun like on the Tonk an oversight?
I think
Tonk's got a machine gun.
Yeah, I think being a bespoke gun, we won't know until we see it. It's also a gun by Hurston Dynamics, so the only guns that we have for them are the attritions. But if you took the attritions and put on it, they're really just laser repeaters, and they call it an energy cannon. So a cannon
it's an
makes
auto cannon.
Yeah, so it's interesting because it's not an energy repeater, and it's not a cannon. It's an auto cannon, so it's somewhere between the two. If you do the math, so is that make it again being bespoke? It's just a fast firing cannon, so it's high damage, high speed. So that almost sounds like it's a size 4 dancing as a size 3 to me, but or maybe it's burst, so it just fires really fast, and then it's got a long recharge time, which would also work with the whole flanking. Yeah, so it's putting a lot of damage out really quickly, and then it's got a recharge time. I don't know. I have to wait and see. We really, really have to wait and see because it's just not in the game. So you can speculate, but you're never get on point. And again, I'm only guessing based on the things that we've talked about, the type of weapon you would need it to be. Badgers, I'd probably relay that to you more than myself because of your military expertise. But does it sound a little bit like that, like a burst with a high recharge? Because that makes a lot of sense to me.
It kind of depends. I mean, autocannons can do all sorts of things. The autocannons that stand out to me are the ones like on the Bradley and the other LAV that I'm sure Cal will remind me of. But yeah, those. And they hit really hard and they go through walls and they're great for screwing up light armored targets and infantry and all that sort of stuff. But the terrifying thing about them is you know how much damage that they can do. So you don't need necessarily to get hit by one to be rendered temporarily completely useless because you're just like, one of those rounds hits me. That's it. It's like being, Bushmasters, that's the one. Lab 3s. Yeah, thank you, mate. Those are the ones. But yeah, they go in with auto guns and it's just literally doof, 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 doof. And it doesn't need to be really fast because each of those rounds is going all the way through the house you're looking at.
How's your music go again? Doof, 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 doof. Doof, doof, doof. Doof, doof, doof. Music. Right, okay.
Send help. I'm almost dry on this one.
Yeah. Right. Next question. I
GTB 500 says, I have an Odyssey.
Mhm.
Should I upgrade to a Polaris? I have a small group of friends and like the idea of exploring. I have a Carrack in my buybacks and have seen a lot of hate for the Odyssey. I think that is.
I think that I probably, this is like the third or fourth questions like this today that we've had that could be technically fall under Fix My Fleet. So drop on the Discord if you've got questions like that. And there are a whole bunch of people in there, not just myself and Algared, that will look at it. And if it needs to be pumped up to me and Algared, it'll be pumped up to me and Algared. But long story short, like Badger's I've been saying, it really is a case-by-case basis. There are many factors that come into play. So I would highly recommend, rather than me and Badgers arguing back and forth over it, because we don't have the context of what you're into, go jump on the Discord and ask some other people, and they'll fill you in. And again, it'll get pumped up to me, Badgers or Algared, or
and the key thing is X and I have got exactly that. We might not agree on all the little things about ships, but X and I do agree on the first thing, which is when it's not generalized advice, the very first thing we ask you is, what is it you want to achieve? What do you have? You know, what, you know, because we take a look at the whole fleet, and it's that whole kind of hanger approach of, okay, because it might be that you want to do that, but you've got all these things in your hangar that indicate that actually what you enjoy is something else entirely. And maybe it's that you want to. Do you see what I mean? So it's
I think when it comes to generalized advice, you and I probably disagree on some things. But I think when we sit down and do a case by case basis, we almost generally always agree, right? So it's just that generalized advice you and I disagree on. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think we have done more than enough comments on air brakes to last a lifetime, let alone one stream. Eminent Shadow asks, just for what about airdropping tanks? Is that what the air brakes could be used for? What's your prediction for the release order of RSI concept ships to flyable? Polaris, Apollo, Perseus, Large Mining Ship, Orion, and Galaxy last for modularity.
Well, they're working on modularity at the moment, so I'd almost go Polaris, Galaxy, to be honest with you. Apollo was on the roadmap, so that puts that one up there as well. I can't give you the exact order. I can just kind of, I'd be putting the landminer at the very back, to be honest with you, because the actual gameplay for that isn't needed for Squadron 42. It's a completely different system from the mining that we have right now, so that puts it way back. What was the other ones?
Was the Orion,
the Perseus and the Orion,
and the Large Mining Ship.
Yeah, the Orion needs new stuff as well, but I'd put the Orion in front of the mining, and the Perseus, there's almost no reason that can't go in tomorrow. I just think it's it really is getting the people to work on a bigger ship. So yeah, we know they're doing so I'd kind of must go Perseus, Apollo and Galaxy. I think are very equal, but I think it would realistic due to size go. This is only a guess, by the way. Polaris, Apollo, Galaxy, Perseus, Orion, Large Mining Ship. What do you think about that, Badgers?
Yeah, I think the Apollo and the Galaxy need to be close because they are both modular. So the Apollo, you've got the choice. You've got two bays, and you can have one tier 1, 2 tier 2s, 3 tier 3s. Yeah. Whereas the Galaxy can just mix them up, have them all, or just have a lot of tier 1s.
The only reason the Apollo was so forward for me is that it was on the roadmap and they took it off. So that generally when it goes on the roadmap, it's usually sooner rather than later.
Yeah. I regarding the Large Mining Ship and the Orion, the only reason I'm thinking
Orion is less.
It might be the Large Miner first. Yeah, potentially. Is that at the moment, in my own head, I'm convinced they've just said ISC's out, apparently.
Yep, cool. Shortly.
Is that so there seems to be a hold on capital ships.
The Orion exterior was modeled ages ago, and we haven't seen anything on it for a while. So the Orion is already further along than the Miner. The Miner requires more gameplay work, and it has to be built. So that's why I know the Orion will come first, because it's just bigger rocks that have to be broken up. So it's less gameplay that has to be worked on. But then you've got things like the drones and blah 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 blah. So they're both
yes
have too many restrictions.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, they don't both. I just put the Orion in front of the landmine because the landmine's got a lot more gameplay to go with it. But they're both in a very similar state. All right.
Absolutely.
We need to do Not-A-Tuna, and then we'll go do ISC. So we need one more person for. Do you have something to show off? Another one or not? Or do I have to go get one?
Another one.
I can go get one, but also. All right. Well, you go. You go. Well, you're plucking out pubic hairs off your chest. Okay, yeah. What's this, and where is it from? No.
Just
your left nipple. No. Leaving me here with one of my friends. All right, here. Execute looks tired. Get some rest. But it's just been really hard for me to get back into it. I have insomnia and somnia, so I either sleep too much or I sleep too little, and it's a pain in the ass. So yeah, it's just what it is. What it is. This is why I'm going on holiday though. I haven't had a holiday like Algared's sick at the moment, right? So he gets to take time off, but I can't take time off because if I take time off, the show doesn't exist. It's that simple. No one seems to have the skill set that I have to be able to do this. So, and it's not as easy as copy everything that we do in OBS and paste it into another OBS. It doesn't work that way. You've got to have it all laid out, and yeah, they just don't seem to have the skill set I have to set it up. I'd have to set it up on their actual PC to get it working. So maybe one day I'll sit down with Badgers and remote connect to his PC and set it up on his, and he can stream or something like that. Algared also doesn't have the technical know-how to do a lot of these things, but yeah. Badgers, I was saying that maybe one day I'll sit down and remotely set up OBS on your PC so you can stream and I can nick off. No, you don't want to stream? Okay. See, they don't want to do it.
It's the remotely thing that I'm not a fan with. Just download the files, I'll sort it out.
You can move the mouse and it'll literally take control back. So yeah. Oh, we'll talk about it later. Anyway. All right. Do you want to go on? You got your Not-A-Tuna thing? Alrighty. So what do you want to know?
So I want to know which game this is from, and the specific one, which one, not just that game. It's like, is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whichever one it is.
Mm-hmm.
And which character am I drinking from it?
Oh, I know what game series it is. Yeah, actually, I've got it, but I don't have the character. I've got the game, but I don't have the character. So let's see.
Someone's got Streets of Rage 4. Not so much.
Yeah. Barbie's Fun Time. Chapter 7. Not a clue. Okay, well, I've got the game, but I don't have the character because I never played it.
Ooh, have I stumped chat? I can't have. What if I...
Algared has stumped people, so don't worry, it is possible. But he's asked some very obscure shit.
I can do a
There you go. God of War, Ares first game.
I can do a teaser soundbite.
Is it God of War? Is it God of War? Because I didn't think it was God of War. Yeah, see, I didn't think it was God of War.
So here you go, chat. Pay back every grudge.
I'm not going to say what it is, but I think I know what the game is. But type it and tell me. Tell me. PM
Lego Star Wars 3 C3PO. Yeah, thanks. Such. Ooh.
Someone says Dark Souls 2, Diablo 2.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, I've got more from that box. So give me a chance, and I shall. Can grab that just a second.
Interesting. Warhammer. No, I don't think it's any of those. I can't believe no one said it. I think I'll say it ways away. Valhalla. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I think, is what it is. He did say it was a series, remember? What game is it from a series? It's a massive series. is he doing? These noises are very interesting. Right, I was back. We heard all that. What was all those noises? Grunting.
So all those noises was me hopping that off the shelf.
What is the game? Just tell us what the game is, because I'm pretty sure I know what it is, or am I mistaken? Has anyone even said the game? Don't tell us then. Don't tell us. Has anyone actually said the game?
I don't believe they have yet. No, somewhere.
So a lot of people are talking about Warhammer 2.
Oh,
about
someone's got it. Yeah. So
Baldur's Gate 2 Minx.
We have the right, kind of the right answers.
Well,
yeah.
You're driving this because I got no idea.
My own. So we are entirely right on the dwarf character, High King Thorgrim Grudgebearer. But it's not Warhammer 2. Warhammer 1, exactly. So
who got it right then?
So it's a pretty tough one. So we'll go with the first one to get Thorgrim and Warhammer, which I think was someone in the chat. But it was. Let's go back up.
Grimmy the Dwarf? No. Warhammer 2. High King Warhammer 2. Hollington said High King Warhammer 2.
Hollington. Yeah, Hollington was the first to get it.
Right,
it also has, which is really cool, there's a ring, and on the bezel of the ring is a spinning section which works as a dice.
See, so you can spin the bezel. This is the shit I wanted, but Algared comes out with all this weird military stuff that I didn't know, but that's fine.
There's also an actual wet zone with a rune of sharpening on it.
All right, while you're showing this off, I'm going to go grab mine then. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so there's all that sort of stuff. There's a steelbook and all that sort of. So yeah, it was the original Warhammer, because Warhammer 2, which I also have somewhere behind me, and obviously I won't be using it now because you guys know that I've got it, is the Lizardman one. So it's in a blue scaled case, and it's got a Lizardman puzzle cube for you to open. It's also got a fabric map of the old world, which is kind of cool. And then the book, so that's all from the insert, which goes inside the book. And then, which was the big box that I showed you, this thing. I don't know how much this is going to be. Yeah, thanks for making it all invisible. That's really helpful. But then, within it, it has all of the artwork as well, which is really cool. But apparently the green screen's not going to let me show it, so there. But yeah, I was absolutely gutted because they did 2 of these damn things, and then they went to do the when they released the 3rd one, Total Warhammer 3. They basically whipped out and said, "Oh, well, we're not going to do one because COVID." So the first time I was going to have collector's editions of all of the games, which is why I don't own Total Warhammer 3, because screw them. Are you listening, Creative Assembly?
All right.
I know you're not, but you should be. Yeah, that's it.
Alrighty then. All right, I got mine for the next one. All right. So what was the game, by the way? Warhammer.
So it was Total War Warhammer, the very first one. Badgers is a massive fan of Henry Cavill.
Made in Australia, you know that, right?
Henry Cavill?
No, oh, I wish. No, Warhammer, made here in Brisbane, Australia, by Creative Assembly. I've got friends that work there.
Sorry.
What, you just take my pussy, are you? Right, here we. He'll make himself at home now. You lazy bum, aren't you?
Guns and Glue. 3's not as good. What makes you say that, mate? But yes, so it is.
Oh wait, Mark's on here.
So that's where my drinking on went. So Hollington, sorry, did we get a colour from you, mate? Obviously you can't.
No.
Oh, is that how it works?
No, not how it works. So he goes into. Why is your camera gone? It's disappeared.
doesn't like you.
I'll refresh it for you.
Yeah, it's working my side.
That's all right. I'll just refresh it. So, basically we get 3 final people. So we're going to go get 1 more. Those 3 people go into a sudden death. And but the person that wins the sudden death is the person that gets to pick. Because we didn't just want to make it easy for people. So yeah, we wanted something different. And it is different. It's a bit wacky, a bit crazy, a bit different, and you know,
a bit woo, a bit way.
Well, allows people to learn a little bit about us too. It, you know, it gets everyone talking about some. You know, we get nostalgia berries doing it. So we notice people in chat when some of the stuff I pulled out. People are like, God, I haven't heard about that in 20 years. You know, so. And you did it to me today when you brought out that thing, because I've actually got that collector's edition box behind me. Not only that one, I've also got the next 2 games after that, you know, and I'm like, wow, they've sat on my shelf for 10 years and not done anything. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. ISC, yeah?
Let's do it.
All right, let's refresh this. I got to move some things around. So there's that. There's that, and then I've got to switch you over so you can hear. Jax, you're sitting in the most annoying spot in the butt, aren't you? You're in the butt. Right, so switch that over. Then I've got to go into the audio mixer and turn the filter off.
If anyone hears a sound like a bottle being opened halfway through this episode, you are misled. It is not such a thing.
All right.
I just have it on my soundboard.
Here we go. Let's make sure we're on the right screen. We're on the right screen. All right, here we go, everyone. Come here, you.
I'm still here, still trying to learn what all the buttons do. So while I'm at it, let's not waste any more of your time and get you all right into part 2 of this enormous Arena Commander update that's scheduled to make its way to you in the upcoming Alpha 320. And I'll be right here when you get back. Do your best Jared impersonation.
Oh, I don't want
Last time on Inside Star Citizen.
just yell really loud. Last time on Inside Star Citizen. I don't even know what accent that was.
Are you excited to be doing 2 ISCs in a row?
It took me over 80 minutes in what we had only scheduled to be an hour to film what was probably a 15-minute episode. I'm sorry. Especially to Jared's team. Sorry, guys. It's awesome to be getting such attention shone on Arena Commander, and I'm excited to finally bring it up to what I believe it has potential to be. I get pinged like every other week asking to put atmosphere in Arena Commander, and now they finally have it, they can stop whining. They're going to whine about something else. I can't stop the whining, but I hope you liked it. So last ISC we talked a lot about flight, but there's 2 other major parts that we want to be talking about here. And the first is FPS combat. So FPS combat in Arena Commander is so important because you need a place to practice shooting each other without actually dying for real like you do in the Persistent Universe. So we need to make that experience as close to the Persistent Universe while still having it be fun and unique. So you access Star Marine game modes exactly the same as we showed last week with the new front end, new lobby system, and jump straight into the action.
See, this could be really important to the Squadron 42 stuff too, Badgers, as well. I don't know what you think about that, but Badgers?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I thought when I looked at the previous thing is that something reminiscent of underground facilities?
Mm.
Those shots of it being in Atmo. But yeah, I think the gunplay is key, and I think if there are nice touches that we do, of course, they can always retrospectively patch it as well as things get better within Arena Commander. They can always patch it retrospectively into Squadron 42.
No, true.
So with our existing maps, the VFX team are helping us out and doing a pass over everything. So it might not be finalized in the footage that you're seeing here, but we're excited to see where they can take it and uplift all of our levels because they're in need of a facelift. and we've been working hard on fixing a lot of the bugs and frustrations across the maps.
All I know is they did a lot of bug fixes recently. I don't know, we're not meant to just say bug fixes. Fixing doors that weren't meant to be there, resolving the fact that you could just smash through the glass which you're not meant to be able to smash through, and just go into EVA in the middle of elimination, which is bad. Being able to get into areas you shouldn't be able to get into.
So we fixed those up. In terms of new maps, we've got a variation on a fan favourite, Echo 11. We're introducing that to elimination. Echo 11 is quite a big map for control. For elimination, we've tightened it up. We've cut off access to the D room and some of A room and made it a little bit smaller so that the action can be more compact and suitable for elimination. So last week we showed off Security Post Korea being introduced to dogfighting maps, but we've also introduced it to FPS maps, so you'll be able to play elimination, control, and some of the new game modes on Korea itself. So to recap, for Star Marine, you'll be able to play on the Good Doctor, a larger version of Echo 11 for control, small one for elimination, and the same for Damien and get Damien comms, as well as Security Post Korea, which is being introduced to elimination and control. So with the Good Doctor, at some point along the line, all the trees disappeared. So Design have went in and restored that, so it's back in this beautiful oasis area that it's meant to be in, and fixed the lighting and various other issues that just happened over time. I don't know how. And now Good Doctor's looking beautiful again. So Star Marine is a personal favourite of mine. I love FPS combat, and I'm so excited to be working on more additions to the FPS area of Arena Commander. And that leads us to something I'm super excited to talk about, and that's experimental modes.
Experimental modes are important because it allows us to get back into what the real meaning of Arena Commander used to be, which is playtesting and making sure that things that are made for the PU and Arena Commander and Squadron work the way they're meant to. It allows us to put stuff into a testing environment where we can quickly check if just something works the way we want it to, essentially.
Somewhere along the line, we lost that, and when we formed the Arena Commander feature team, we knew that Arena Commander has to stand on its own and have these flagship game modes and new things that are unique to Arena Commander, but we still want to support the persistent universe and other ventures that we go on. Experimental modes are important to us because it gets things in your hands quicker. Instead of waiting for these big, huge game modes to release, we can test things out periodically for a day, a week, a month, and get it into your hands sooner rather than later. So let's dive in and take a look at some of the experimental modes that we have been working on.
This is really interesting because it allows them to kind of test out a game mode and see if it works rather than, yeah, well, it's interesting because they can find the best game modes with this. I don't know if you agree, Badgers, but...
Yeah, I think so.
The first experimental mode is single weapon elimination, so you can jump in with what will be pistols at first.
From a developer's standpoint, single weapon elimination gives us the opportunity to really test weapons that we want to get tested. It allows us to check every single part of the weapon balancing and make sure that it works just right. We know that players want to test their skill against each other, and the best way to do that is to make sure everyone's equal. So everyone gets the same weapons, everyone gets the weakest weapons in our first version, and they get to just see who's better than the other.
With 320, we're introducing pistol-only elimination, and that will be the arc-like pistol, and it's a personal favourite of mine. It adds increased time to kill, and it came originally from playing with you guys, the community. And at the end of a long session of Star Marine, someone threw out the idea of, like, what, can we do like a pistol-only round? And I just had so much fun with that. We ended up playing for at least another hour. So that mode is inspired by that. So for this patch, it's just pistols only, but we can change it up at any point. It's simple parameters. And if the weapons team come to us with a new weapon they want to test out, they want to get that analytic data, they want to get the fun factor, we can put it into Arena Commander, whatever that weapon is only, and see how you guys like it.
The next experimental mode that we're working on is Gun Rush.
Now, names are temporary. They might change between now and release. But Gun Rush is where you start off with a pistol, and as you get a kill, it upgrades you.
And then with every kill, you go...
That's the one from Counter-Strike. Have you ever played that mode? I just... Yeah, that'll be popular as hell. I like that mode too, yeah.
To the next type of gun. You go through LMGs, SMGs...
Some special weapons I won't spoil.
Snipers, and even the railgun.
And then we've put some surprises in there for whoever gets to the last round. So Gun Rush, as the name might suggest, is super fast-paced. It lets you get your hands on many different weapons as you cycle through them and get some experience with stuff that you hadn't had. For example, I had no idea how to use shotguns. Still don't really, but I'm a little bit better at them now thanks to Gun Rush. So Gun Rush is only possible thanks to the refactors we've been doing to the spawning and loadout modules. So we can, instead of refreshing your entire loadout, switch out just the gun, and it's super fast now, whereas before it was a bit of a clunky thing to do.
Ah, this is the question about Tonk Royale.
This is Tonk Royale, yeah.
I had no idea what the hell he was talking about. All right, here, now we can find out.
In the next experimental mode, we're bringing ground vehicles to Arena Commander, and that is Tonk Royale.
So there's going to be 3 locations for Tonk Royale. It's going to be Hurston, Yella, and Magna. So how it works is simply we have a massive arena, we drop you in on these 3 various maps, and you just go to town. There's going to be 3 versions of Tonk Royale. First is...
if you can get multiple people in the same tank, I mean, that would be so much fun.
Classic elimination match.
Can you imagine that? Like, let's say you got, like, I don't know, but if it's just one person in a tank, yeah, it'll be okay, but I really want the multiple people in the same thing.
Respawns, just get as high score as you can. Second is squadron battle, so you are team versus team tanks. In squadron battle, it's super exciting because you can run as just the driver, or you can join one of your teammates and be their gunner. And then the third is still being worked on. I'm not sure if it's going to be making this release, but super excited about it, is hardcore elimination. So essentially elimination, but you've only got the single life. When the Tumble Storm gets introduced to the verse, we'll be sure to add that to Tonk Royale as well.
Nice. Okay, I pose this question though: is it worth owning a Nova tank anymore? Because they're gonna have to give that to people for free. Same thing with the Storm.
Only in the arena.
Yeah, but you get what I mean though. But that's probably gonna be the main place where people use those now. I don't know. We'll see.
Absolutely.
After 320, we'll also be finishing off our racing refactor, which allow us to make maps faster and merges PU and AC racing systems together. It's going to be a more streamlined process for us, our designers, and a better experience for you, less buggy on both ends. So with the racing refactor, we've also been working on a betting module, which will let you bet on races. Now, we haven't got all of that signed off, but excited to get that in if we can. So just like the Persistent Universe, all of these maps, game modes, and features need to have their own individual go no-goes. And at the time of recording this, we've got some successful goes for Alpha 320 for the following: the new Arena Commander front end, the new lobby system, the new spawning system which allows for multi-crew gameplay, new def cameras and def recaps, a revamped scoreboard and scoring system, 4 new racetracks for the new Horizon Speedway, Old Vanderval, Rickard Memorial, Defford Link, and Halloran Circuit, in addition to the 4 PU racetracks, the Snake Pit, Miner's Lament, Yadar Valley, and Icebreaker, the Jericho Station dogfighting map, Security Post Curator with dogfighting and FPS maps, the new Pirate Swarm Final Wave Capital Battle, the new Echo 11 elimination map, and new experimental game modes like Single Weapon Elimination, Gun Rush, Tonk Royale, Elimination and Squadron Battle versions, and finally a new Infinite Wave Vandal Swarm you'll discover for yourself. So that about does it this week.
Infinite Wave!
To share all these cool developments with Arena Commander, and got the list here. I just want to give a shout out back to Adam, Adrian, Bryn, Corwin, Kirk, Mark, Ricky, Samuel, and Sean and Simon, and the Arena Commander feature team. I'm sitting here in front of the camera, but man, the work it's thanks to this amazing team that I have. And I just couldn't say no to Jared because he's my dungeon master, and I really don't want him to kill my character.
Interesting.
So, what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that changes to FPS maps should make for a more varied experience in Star Marine game modes, that the first ground vehicles are finally arriving with Tonk Royale, and that we hope the new experimental modes will function not unlike
get off Not-A-Tuna.
for the
What are you doing?
Persistent
Get down
Universe.
there.
where they can provide timed, direct experiences the team can use for analytics and feedback from things as small as a single pistol to a brand new vehicle to even curious experiences like Gun Rush and a few more things that we're not quite ready to share just yet. Also, if you missed last week's show, go check that out and see everything else that's coming your way from the new Arena Commander feature team in the upcoming Alpha 320. There's some fun stuff in there. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for exploring the process of game development with us, and we'll see you all here next week.
No, that was not as exciting as I thought it was going to be. I think the first week was more exciting for me. Oh, wait.
There isn't going to be a post-credits thing in every show.
Can I just say before we go any further that Jared is an absolute national treasure and we need to protect him at all costs?
You say that all the time. And
I just know how much it makes you happy, X. That's why.
No, I disagree. I disagree. Algared and I are much the same. I find him a bit cringy, but you know, no one's an everyman, and that's fine. You know, I just think we should have more hosts so we get a bit of variety from different people. That's cool. Alrighty then. I gotta turn the audio filter. Oh, wrong one. Back on. I've got to flip back to Twitch. I've got to flick you back over to. Bang. Done.
Oh God. When is? That's a really good question.
What is the question?
So 320 is expected when?
You'd have to say the latest point would be CitizenCon or AIE 6 months away, but I think they originally planned it for it to be the next patches in 3 months from now. So yeah, 3 months from now.
You're talking September-ish. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. Well, we don't even have 3.19.1 yet, do we, technically? So yeah. Fair way away, so there's definitely going to be a lot more 320 patch type shows between now and then. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I'd like to see, but so that's Arena Commander, but what's, you know, the PE stuff, so we've got more of that to come. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to give the Arena Commander, the Tonk Royale a go. That poor guy, the poor French guy that kept calling him Tonks. Do you think he's able to sue CIG for bullying? Is that a thing now? They're actually calling it Tonks in the menus. Bless. But yeah, that's really
well. He started a trend, and that's, you know, you can call it an insult. I call it a form of flattery, but you know. Each their own, so yeah.
Limited respawns. No, that was 2 javelins in Atmo in that last bit. That was 2 javelins in Atmo, which is a terrifying concept.
Yep. All right. Do we want to go on back to questions?
Yeah, sure. Okie dokie. So, Omega Radium. Question. Execute looks tired. Get some rest, brother.
Yeah, we did that one already. Next one. We have already done the next one as well. We're up to Mongol Mo. Oh wait,
okay.
Nova, because that one skips up to Nova 42. That one.
Okay. So Nova asks, "What do you mean the USB had the original StarCraft on it?"
Now it's just porn. Right. Next.
Stand by.
Yeah.
If my computer suddenly dies, it's because there was a virus on this. Do you know what? I might sheep dip this before I... Yeah, maybe not. I'm pretty sure it still has it on there. I'm pretty sure. But Hutich asks, probably asked multiple times in the past, but what's your guess for the Hull C price increase?
Let's have a quick look. Star Citizen chip prices. Always forget the one that I like, and the one. Yep, I like this one. So Hull C. The Hull C is $350. The 355 price point is probably going to go up $50. So I'd say it'd probably turn out around 400. That is a guess, and that's just going based on previous chips. So Reclaim is a good example. It was 350 and went to 400. So that's kind of what I expect. Badgers, would you kind of agree with that, or you don't care to comment?
I'm not really up to date. It would be a bit of a guess. I'm not really up to date with price ranges and their corresponding kind of increases when they go live. So I will defer to your wisdom, sir, on that one.
It's different at different price points. Like, as I said, like, you just look at previous history ones and you can get a rough idea. But there are ones that break the mold, like the Vulture recently. That went up $35 at a $100 price point. It's the biggest single increase of a ship we've seen on release for percentage. So it, especially in that $100 price window, it's huge. But yeah, we'll see. Sure, it won't be the last. All right, next question.
So a question about the Perseus. Why is the Perseus considered short range when it keeps saying things like long crew quarters? Comfortable accommodation for up to 5 human crew members lets you take on long missions, and captain's quarters provides the ultimate sanctuary for long journeys on the drift.
So it's us that are saying that it's short range, not.
I think what it is it was mentioned as a blockade ship, so I think Algared has mentioned a couple of times that he believes it's short range as a result.
He firmly believes it's short range because things like armor and stuff like that, and it's basically ballistics as well. So as soon as you put ballistics in and armor in, armor I firmly believe is going to be temporary, much like how shields regenerate where ballistics don't regenerate. You know what I mean? So it's the tit for tat. So you got extra strength but temporary, or regenerative but weaker, essentially. So you get this weird balance from that mechanic. And if it's temporary armor, yeah, you can go out, but the risk is then if you lose the armor, you ain't coming back because you'll be destroyed. So if you stay closer to home, you can, every time you finish off an enemy, you can repair. So it naturally makes things like ballistics and armor a lot more defensive than offensive, because then you can stay close to home. Can it go out far? Absolutely. Should it? Depends, if you really want to win that engagement, you take it out. But like, it's the risk you take, isn't it, with anything? Obviously, you want stuff that regenerates. So if it regenerates, again, you can, I was going to say Perseus is the one example you kind of can't. I was going to say you could rejig it or rearm your ship to have lasers or ballistics, but you kind of can't do that with the Perseus, can you? So it does make it a lot more of a close to home defensive ship. I defer to you in your military expertise. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think in military terms, range is one thing, and range is generally defined as fuel versus their economy, and it's kind of described as a distance. So that's what military thing in terms of endurance, in terms of its ability to continue fighting. Yeah, it absolutely wants a fleet for all the reasons that you've said, in terms of ballistics and resupply and all that sort of stuff, because everything it fires, the turrets are hard round, the ballistics, the point defense turrets are ballistics, it's torpedoes, so it's going to run out of those as well. So yeah, it definitely needs some sort of support. If you take the support away, it can go long range, but you don't want it to, because otherwise you don't want it at a point where it's fighting its way back with minimal supplies and doesn't have the support.
Sorry, I'm reading Twitch chat. You need to read what the last two people said, and then I'll go on to the next question when you do that, because I think it's funny. All right, Zero on YouTube says, question, the Endeavour listed features mentions the ability to deliver spawn ships in the hangar module. Do you know of any other ship that has this feature planned? Crack and lower repair bays, maybe. Yeah, absolutely. Any ship that has a hangar will be able to do that. So the Polaris, the Endeavour will be one of them, as the Odyssey will be another one, but not just ships, also vehicles. So things like the Carrot can do that. So the Carrot can spawn a ship up the top, and it can spawn actually not spawn. You can, when that ship is initially spawned, you can spawn a ship into it, and it'll be the same thing in the hangars. You won't be able to say. Read the question. The Endeavour's listed feature mentions the ability to deliver spawn ships. It won't be able to spawn them. It'll be able to store, like, as in you can park it there, and when it despawns or spawns, it will spawn with it. You can't just randomly keep spawning ships out of things. That won't work that way. But when the ship is spawned, you'll be the very first time you'll be able to spawn one into it. Yeah. Right. No, I get no complaints. Yeah, because there's nobody there to complain. Right. Anyway, next question. You want to do the next one, Badgers? Badgers?
Mason Roach asks, now that CIG has confirmed their priority is RSI currently, do you think with the mining change in Pyro 4.0 that the Orion will be pushed forward or come at a later time?
From the question we took before, it's the second last on my list. So yeah, it's lower down the totem pole, so to speak. Unless you think different, Badgers.
I think there's currently a problem with larger ships that CIG are trying to work around.
They need more people.
And
it's just a staffing issue, almost like everything else with this game.
You know, but in terms of things like, you know, there's been no concepts, there's been no nothing for a while. We haven't had a capital ship in a long old time. To the point where it almost feels like there should have been a capital ship at last Invictus, but there wasn't.
Never sold. They've
never
sold a capital ship that's new at Invictus. It's always AIE. But that said, AIE, it was the smallest ship they've ever sold like that, which was the Galaxy. It was technically a large, not a capital. Yeah, and I guess you could also argue the Hammerhead was technically a large as well. But you get my point. You are right though. But I think that's a sign of where we are with Squadron 42. A lot of the polishing and stuff. So yeah.
Terrell Callahan asks, what ships do you think we are likely to see from Argo, and what ships would you like to see from Argo?
I'll let you go with that one. The only one... go ahead.
Go on.
I was just saying, the only one we've seen is the one in the code, which is the Argo MCV, Mobile Construction Vehicle, which is essentially the Pioneer starter manufacturer. But if you also look at all the other Argo ones that we've kind of seen real briefly, is they are very transportation working at the port. You know, they're like all the little vehicles at the port. They've got a lot to do with loading and unloading and assistance of cargo. They're cargo assistance vehicles. The mole breaks that. You know, there's always outliers in every profession, but yeah. That said, I'll have to have a think about what I'd like to see from them real quick while you do yours, I guess.
I suppose if you look at what's left, maybe the medium salvage might be nice. I'm kind of hoping we see something from Greycat. I really would like to see Greycat put something in space.
Algared, I can hear Algared saying right now, it's the mining vehicle, the last one left. Instead of making another RSI, it should have been Greycat. Could have been total tip of the Cygnus miner, you know, the big spider miner. They could have made something tip of the hat to that, because they've said they're never going to sell that. But would have been really great to see, you know, they made a new version of it. And yeah, I almost hope they go back and say, look, we've decided not to do the RSI. They won't. but I really hope they would, because it would be really cool. Can you imagine a giant crab that lands on rocks and you mine with it? Like, it would be sick. And like, it's like eating into the ground, like scurrying under the ground or something stupid. Like, it'd be cool. Anyway, I digress. Right. For me, Argo, it's a tough one. The one I keep coming back to is the one you and I talked about, and that's the rapid decompression vehicle at the port. Do you remember when we were talking about that? Like when we started talking about fire trucks, and then we realized you wouldn't need a fire truck in space, and that elite. I think it was you that came up with it, wasn't it? A rapid decompression vehicle to rescue people. So it's like a space search and rescue essentially. And I think Argo would be really good for that, because something goes wrong at the port, or where would you send it out from? You would send it out from a port, would you not? Because it's already in space. So I think Argo, that makes sense to me to be. It'd be really cool if it was some kind of collaboration vehicle, so it's like half Argo, half RSI or something like that. You know, or you could even make it some other manufacturer like Anvil or Aegis. That, like, it's a good opportunity for a collaboration vehicle, and I do want to see more collaboration vehicles, because at the moment the only one we've really got is the Gemini. But I think, you know, I guess Asperia is a little bit like that, but yeah, and I guess Mirai now as well is a little bit like that. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think about? I know you think it's okay because you and I basically talked about it before, but is that something you'd like to see, the actual search and rescue decompression?
Yeah, I mean, if you go back to, I know it's not a kind of happy topic, but if you go back to anyone that's watched Midway or Pearl Harbor or Kursk or whatever, the problem of getting sailors out of hulls that are trapped underwater, and it is the same thing kind of in space, in that the time that it would take you to cut through the hull and get to them and get a mask on them, the water or the lack of oxygen has already killed them. So, you know, to have something that can fit over, clamp on, maybe cut out, you know, and provide its own oxygen into that space, because that's kind of the key. You would expect that warships, when they go into action, everyone would be required to have their undersuit on with a gas mask, with an oxypen, with a med pen, a sidearm, you know, maybe even a med tool or a combat knife or whatever, right? Because you're going into combat, you're expecting to get hit, so you're expecting decompressions. But, you know, when you're flying around on your Genesis Starliner and, you know, something goes catastrophically wrong and you have a blowout and, you know, everyone's suddenly trapped in a small portion of the ship, you know, not everyone's going to be sat there with a helmet on, you know, because they've just been enjoying their in-flight meal or whatever. So, yeah.
We have to have some version of a rescue truck. So, yeah, maybe it's just a ship that's got heaps of drones that plucks people out. I actually think that's, like, I'd actually almost like to see that on the Cubby Red. Like, it gets those drones from the Apollo, but maybe less beds. I don't know. It definitely needs something, though. There's something, I don't know. Maybe there's just something I can't see there, but we'll see. Yeah. I hope that answers your question, because it's Argo's a tricky one, because it seems to be very limited in what it can do, but then there's also, it's got these random breakouts where it just does mining, you know? So yeah, it would have to be, I think what I'm trying to say is the ships that are left are getting towards that breakout point. That'd have to be something radically different. We'll put it this way, Badgers. I'll put it back to you like this. What would you expect if they made an Argo capital ship? What would you expect that to be? Because I'm almost expecting one capital from every manufacturer, like just one. What would you expect in, you know, like a giant cargo ship? But that's the Hull E, is it not? So what would it be?
Potentially with ground mining, something like that. Or maybe a capital salvage. I mean, I know the Reclaimer kind of sits there.
It does. It's got the capital component, so yeah.
Yeah, maybe a significantly increased ground miner sort of thing. Either sits over a seam or whatever and has its own
it could be a vehicle.
Refineries and that on board, and then pads to transfer that to stuff to get off world and things like that. Maybe.
They get to that point though where it really could be anything they want it to be, because like we know the Jupiter was a ship in lore that was designed to transport other cargo, like other ships. It was designed to transport their the Crusader ships to market. you could have that as an Argo ship, a vehicle transporter. But then again, isn't that also the Liberator? So doesn't the Argo become the medium carrier? That could be it as well. It could be a medium carrier somewhere between the Kraken and the Liberator. Again, like you're kind of almost grasping at straws because they can take it anywhere they want to take it at the end of the day. So it's a very tough question to ask. It's very open ended, and you can only kind of really be sadly vague with it because there's no definition. But yeah. All right. Next question when you're ready, Badgers.
Harry Knights asks, what are the chances we'll see a Banu sloop at some point?
The sloop. What a sloop is?
Type of ship. Small, smaller, old-style sailing ship.
I'm going to look it up. Oh, so just like a smaller...
Yeah, it's like a class. It's like a frigate or a galleon or...
So I'll flick this over and show people what it is. So it's just like a smaller... I'd almost call that a small to medium range ship. It's bigger than a dinghy.
Mhm.
So I think essentially, if I'm not mistaken, he's saying a medium Banu ship. That's what I'm hearing. Would you kind of agree with that?
Yeah, I guess that could be what he's after.
Yeah.
Like we said, we've been told that Banu aren't going to have a huge array of ships to draw from. So you'd expect that each of them's got some sort of unique selling point, which is going to make them, something we really want to get our hands on.
And they're heavily trader based. Me and Algared have been saying for a while, you've got the Kraken privateer, you've got the Banu Merchantman. We're almost expecting another 2 ships that are shop based, and I wouldn't be surprised if one of those is Banu, and it'd probably be the solo one. And the double ship, I'm almost expecting that to be Origin, believe it or not. Just because of the shops. So, think of Fifth Element, the little ship that flew up in Fifth Element, and he had the takeaway taco truck style thing. So a singular shop where you can make it you could make it a food truck, you could make it just a solo trader ship, basically. And I could see that. So it's somewhere between a Banu Defender and a Merchantman, but it's smaller. So it'd be smaller than a Mercury Star Runner. So I'm trying to think of a ship in similar size. It would be like, but it would be larger than a Cutlass and Freelancer, but in that same size. Did you see that or not? Because so it's essentially you've got, because what you'd have to have on that is living quarters for one. So imagine a whole A. So you got that very minimal living quarters, and then it's a shop attached to it. So it's literally just like a. I actually drew this up one day in Photoshop. Me and Algared did talk about a soloistic shop, and it was a round ship, and then it had like stairs at the back that you went up, and when you got up to the top was the living quarters and the cockpit in one. And so from the above, and I'm just using analogy here as in the style of it was like a seashell from above. Mm-hmm. So it looked very ornate from above. And that's where your cockpit was on top, and you flew it from that. And you could probably add some angles and lines to it so it looks like directional. You might even add some arms to it or wings like in the Banu Defender. And basically it just lands and opens, and it's just a singular shop with living quarters up the top, as I said, and your cockpit. And we could see all that. But getting that onto a medium pad, it's going to be probably one of the biggest ships on it. Well, a mole, I believe, fits on a medium pad. So you're talking about a similar size ship to a mole. Mm-hmm. How would you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for lots more ships that aren't combat vessels necessarily. Just because I feel like right now we are up there with combat vessels. We've got other things. So yeah, stuff to open up other avenues. Definitely, I think the kind of the food truck idea, the mobile shop, I like that. I think Sangroper for me, he's got it right. Is that the sloop for me feels like a 400i, in that it's multi-crew, but it's not big, it's not massive in combat, it's got speed on its side. That feels potentially a little bit like a sloop for me. But yeah, Limited, thanks very much for watching, duties. Got to run, but cheers.
Okay, so what would you see that doing if it came from the Banu then? Because again, there's the only thing
that's the problem.
It comes back to a slave ship then for me. If it's
Yeah.
not trading, it's got to be slave. So is it
Yeah.
another Oh, that'd be interesting. So you've got the Genesis Starliner, the 890 jump, then you've got an executive, and the middle one is an alien slave ship. Oh, that'd be perfect. I'd love that. That'd be so funny. Don't see it happening, but God, it'd be funny. I'd be laughing my butt off. Yeah, so these are the 4 types of human transport vessels we have. And by the way, they don't call it slaving anymore. They call it services or something because
intention servitude.
Yeah, they went woke and changed it. So yeah.
Because it upsets too many people if you talk about slaves. And I see why, but we're talking about a fictional game set in space.
Yeah.
So let's just calm down a little bit.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I'm not sure. And this is the thing. I mean, we've just come up with this idea of Banu sleep from nowhere.
Yep.
Yes, to more Banu ships. Don't know what role they would play at this point.
Yeah, I think
I feel like there's.
I think you'd have to say the Banu as an alien species between that and the Zayan and even the Tavaran is the most limited. They are they definitely need to go back and upgrade, change them slightly. I can understand why they did initially, but I think now the scale of the game has changed. Kind of what happened with Pyro. Initially, it was this lifeless, barren nothing, and now it's totally changed. The same thing will happen with the Banu at some point. They'll just flip a switch and they'll they might be hidden and secretive, and then all of a sudden you find that there's this complete underworld. And it's like anything with, I'm thinking about the Nar Shaddaa and the Romulans in Star Trek. And then over time, as they actually went into those and worked them out, it wasn't as secretive and it's a behind the curtain analogy. As soon as you did you really want to see what was behind there? Because once you see it, it could be the same thing.
I think for me, the ship that makes sense, I'm sat here trying to figure out how it would work in gameplay. The ship that makes most sense is something like the Banu Emissary. Which is when you're making first contact, or when you're doing some sort of diplomacy that isn't centered around trade, and it's some kind of very it's a ship. It's still very ostentatious. It has a meeting room, that is designed for everyone, so you can do diplomatic discussions. You can try and broker a ceasefire. All that sort of stuff. That, for me, suits the Banu and when you look at the way that they operate their merchantmen. But I don't know how that would work in a gameplay perspective, because obviously, there's not going to be many players who are out there single-handedly brokering peace between two warring factions. We're not expecting one player to go, "It's okay, guys, you don't need to fight the Banu anymore," or the Vandal. I've brokered peace between the UEE and the Vandal, so no one gets to fight the Vandal anymore. Yeah, that wouldn't work. So, yeah, maybe something science-based. P. Jill, first time chat in Twitch, says Banu utilize other races' tech, so maybe a tech research ship for tweaking items and components. Actually, you could call it the Banu Hawaii, and they could just go around stealing other people's ideas.
You could even see a manufacturing ship from them too, now I think about it, because they do have lots of different tech, so maybe they've got something special to do with manufacturing. I don't know. Again, as I said, outliers, they can take it wherever they want. It makes it really hard when there are a lot of outliers like that, so we'll see. All right. We do need to do another Not-A-Tuna, so we'll do that real quick, which is this one. All right. So with this one, much similar to what Badgers one was, I want to know what game is it from, and I want to know what, very specifically, what version of the game is it from, or what did I buy? That might be the better way to do it. What did I buy? What version of the game did I buy? All right, you ready? Badgers, you ready? You don't look ready. Show me your ready face. All right, here we go. You ready? 3, 2, 1. You know what that is, Badgers? Don't say it out loud. You know what it is? Yeah, you should know what it is because I got it from you. You inspired it. Yep. 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 Pre-sale got it. Pre-sale got it. So it's the Diablo 3 Collector's Edition is what this is from. And much like the USB stick that Badger's got, you get the Soul Stone on a USB stick, and when you plug it in, this is going to bring a thing up on my game, but I'll get rid of it in a sec, Badgers, so I apologize for it taking over the screen. But this, look, it has Diablo 2 and the expansion on it, as you can see, because Badgers can see what just came up on the screen.
Inserted.
Yep. And then, look, it glows red, like the Soul Stone.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah. I just wish I wish they'd made it so you could put a USB into the bottom of the skull, and then you could have had a light up. It would have been so cool if you could have done that, but someone didn't have the foresight to do that.
So I don't own Diablo 4 yet, but I do own the Diablo 4 Collector's Edition, which worryingly doesn't come with the game. Like,
yeah, how weird.
Damn
huh?
it.
Shows the time that we live in.
Unfortunately.
No, but it's because then you could buy it digitally. That's why they said it. They said, yeah, so you can get the collector's edition if you want it, and then just buy it digitally. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds really weird.
Yeah, well, I mean, they did this with when they shipped the limited edition of Total War Warhammer 1. They shipped these things out, and they were like, "We're really sorry. There's been a problem at the depot. You are not getting these on your on release day." So they shipped them all with a code. Sorry, we all got emailed a code. So you basically ended up with 2 of these collector's editions codes for the game. So you'd have one that was you'd have one that was for use on release day that came through your email, so you could preload and everything else, and then the other one, when it arrived in the box, was just kind of yours to give away to whoever you wanted. But that's the sort of kind of customer service that game companies should be doing, and I and that's why I was quite happy to pre-order the second one from Creative Assembly. So
it was interesting. YouTube won this week. We got 2 YouTubers and 1 Twitch. So yeah, it was interesting because people have been saying that Twitch has been favoring it, but I've been playing with the timings, and I think I've got it very close to within half a second on both now. So and I think that kind of shows.
Gotcha. There is a time delay on.
Yeah. No, actually, the way I did it was I couldn't make Twitch any slower, but I could make YouTube faster. So I made YouTube faster. That's how I fixed it in the end. So yeah. Puts more pressure on my bandwidth, but man, it's holding it fine. So yeah. All right. So we don't have very many questions left, by the way. I don't want to point that out. We've probably got less than 10 questions left. So when we run out of questions, or when we get towards the end of the show, as long as you 3 gentlemen are here, so the 3 people in question are Seraph Industries, Hollington, and Presol. One of you will get to select a window for today, and you've got a 75% chance of winning a ship. So you're in a very good company there to get a ship. I think we've only given away 1 other ship, which was the actual Not-A-Tuna itself. So yeah. Yeah, so we need to go find 1 more thing for those guys to make a tiebreaker. Do you have 1 more thing, or do you want me to go get something?
I do have something, but I will have to run downstairs to grab it. Right. This is not a game thing. This is a military thing. Yeah, that's fine. But do you think people can get it or not? And as a tiebreaker, you're actually like if one of those guys is a military guy and the others are not, you give them a huge advantage. I think you better. I think you're better with a generalized one for that. Save that for next time that you're on, maybe.
I don't know, your call.
Possibly, although having said that, it could be said that all the military guys who haven't had the chance to spend anywhere near as much time gaming have been disadvantaged the last 3 questions, and I'm giving you a chance to catch up.
But it's only between those 3 people now. So,
Okay.
So the last one is only between these 3. So you just got to ask everyone in chat.
I see what you mean.
So the last
Right.
is a tiebreaker, essentially.
No, in that case, you do it, because I don't have...
All right, well, you do...
fact, can we...
You're going to go, or...
I'm trying to think from here if I've got anything.
Well, I can go. I can go grab something. There's always something. I just go look around my room and go, oh yeah, that.
Yeah, you grab something. I'll stand on the spot and do a little dance.
Well, then it's
and
no, you just answer the next question. Go for it.
Fucking love you lot for the air brakes thing. I just couldn't. I couldn't. It's too much batshit crazy.
Oi, I can hear
Thanks. I know you can hear me. Yeah, so right. Okay. I love you. Carlton Whitfield asked, what value or benefits do you see from having multiple game packages? Do you know what? I can see certain situations when I don't want to use my main character in situations. What is he doing?
That has an exorbitant amount of dust on it. Whew. Well, that needs dusting. Bad. Right. Well, I've got some.
Yeah. So yes, I think it's very little. I think just sometimes there's going to be things that you do like boarding or ground vehicle combat where you might want to take a toon that you're not that much invested in because of the very, very, very high chance of death. And that way, then, if you're not spending all your time kind of investing into that character or your rep, then it's not so much a big issue if they die, whereas you don't want to do that with the one that has got all of your unlocks on it and that sort of stuff. That would be my guess. How about you, X? What do you reckon?
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God, he's just...
This actually came with a miniature. That's never going to get painted by me.
If I hear fapping, I'm just done.
Look.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know precisely what that is.
Oh, really?
Because I have it too. Yeah. Mine's all back of the bookshelf back there.
Yeah, but that's why it was so dusty, because it's been sitting up there for like 15 years or whatever. So we'll ask people if they know what that is. Maybe someone else knows what that is. Takes you back, doesn't it? Yeah.
Whilst, in fact, because I've got something that's... I can guarantee it's something that I don't think any other streamer in the UK has. It's not game related. It's cooler than that. Stand by, I'll be back in a second.
All right. Oh, so I'm putting this back up after I got it all the way down?
Oh, no, because this isn't something you can guess. The minute you'll see it, you'll know exactly who it is.
Okay, go ahead.
So, yeah, if you want to answer, what value or benefits do you see from having multiple game packages, if any?
So they literally said when you have multiple game packages, they would be akin to having multiple characters that you can jump between, is what they said back in the day. And it really has not changed since then. On top of that, I do think eventually they will... God, there was so much dust on that. Look at that. They did say that they will... you got to assume eventually they'll allow you to buy accounts, though. Multiple accounts. Or character slots, like on an MMO. I shouldn't say accounts. Character slots, sorry. All right. Standing... on it. Yeah, well, I normally, so I actually have like a wooden kitchen chair I pull out, and that's actually on the other side of the room. That's what I wanted to get before, so I could get the other one down. But then I had to move. This isn't designed to move out that way. It's designed to move out that way because this is a. I'll show you. I normally don't do this. This is a rarity. But look. Woo!
Sorry, mate, I'm with you now.
And you can see the wooden chair. See? So it's designed to go out that way, not to go out sideways. All right. All right, what'd you get?
So I should have known this, but I do. Okay. Hopefully this will be seen. And if not, what I'll do is I'll shut the green screen down just for a second and show you what this is. So that, if you can just see at the bottom of there, is Her Majesty the Queen, the late one, actual written signature on a book.
Oh, okay.
Right? And people go, but how do we know that's written? Because next to it, I actually have a picture of her signing said book.
So why did she sign that for you? What did you do that made that so?
I can't say why I have that book, but I have that book. So there.
Man, it's a
It's
military.
a book I shouldn't have, but she signed that book.
Military thing.
And there was a picture of her signing it. It's a visitor's book, basically. And she's signing that, and yeah. So people are like, yeah, but how do we know it's the Queen? It's like, because next to it, there's a picture of her with that book in her hands, signing it with a pen. So yeah, apparently that's worth about £8,000. An actual signature of the Queen, but I'm not selling it. It's mine.
Well, it's only going to go up now. She's dead, you know. But yeah.
Oh, Sarah says he's paying half attention for a bit because he's about to get his daughter to go to bed.
All right. Well, we're not going to do it for a little bit, Sarah. So you're fine there, mate. Well, you probably got another 15 minutes at minimum. So, unfortunately, if you're not here, you're not here. We can't.
Them's the rules.
So, yeah, those are the rules. So you might have to go to the wife and say, please. No. All right. Anyway. All right. Next question.
Okay.
Quintaliana?
Yeah,
says,
they're not. They are all the normal stuff. So, Contra Science.
We've only got 6 questions left. So, if you want some more questions, get them in, or we're ending early. I can tell you that now. 6 questions is not going to get us 45 minutes. All right, there you go.
The Valkyrie is unable to carry most of the ground assault vehicles. Do you think we need something in between an Ursa and a Spartan that could increase the tactics that you can use with a Valk? So you've got the Tumbrel, the what are they called? The
Cyclone.
Buggy things, Cyclones. You got the Cyclones and variants, and we think the Storm will be able to fit as well.
Yep.
We reckon. Because it's the height on the Nova that makes it the problem.
I do think that there is a very clear, obvious problem that there is not enough medium vehicles. You've basically got the G12, Ursa, and Lynx, and that's it. There isn't any more, you know, and let's be honest, 2 of them are variants essentially, and the G12 is just oversized for it. It does not need to be that large. You're essentially taking a Cyclone and making it the same size as an Ursa. What possible benefit does that have? None. It's just silly. Obviously, it'll give it some speed, and it's got a fully enclosed cab. But quite honestly, why couldn't you make something the size of a Cyclone with a fully enclosed cab? I don't get it. And because essentially you are giving up your cargo space for the G12, and you get a turret. So there's not a lot of difference between, a Cyclone and an Ursa to a G12. They're all just 6 degrees of difference, and it's a bit silly in my book, but yeah. Yeah. Next question.
Okie dokie. Stefanzi. Stefanzi. I'm really sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Question. UFOs. Answer. Aliens.
Aren't they called UAFs now or something like that? The military's got involved and they've changed. It's not UFOs anymore, and they changed it to UAF or something, unidentified aerial phenomenon or something like that, or UAP or something like that. They changed it. It's like, yeah, 60 years of UFOs, but we're the military, so we're going to rename it to something else. And I think they changed it, and it's now UAP or something.
Right. So.
But,
yeah, so the idea is that, I'll just add a quick look here. So the idea is that UFOs can be differentiated from UAPs.
Oh, okay.
And weirdly, it's not the way around that we think. So we hear UFO and you hear, ooh, the Canadian ship coming in, and UAPs is like unmanned aerial penis.
That's exactly what Loken and his viewers just wanted to hear as they rated. How you doing, Loken? Nice to see you.
Yeah. Hi, guys. That was unfortunate, but there you go.
Yeah.
It's the other way round. So unidentified flying object is just that. It's something in the air that we don't know what it is. Whereas UAP is something that's happening that we can't, that the military can't explain. I don't think they're expecting us to change it over. It's just the military thing. It'll be like, yeah, it was an unmanned flying object. Turns out it was a weather balloon.
Well, taking that back
okay,
to
fine,
Star
right.
Citizen, yeah, there probably will be unidentified things. I can even see a mission like that, like there's an unidentified ship and you got to go figure out what it is and stuff like that. But realistically, it'll be a lot less of a thing, I guess is how I'd put it, being in the future and having easier access to space. It's not going to be as, not like it is now. Like half the reason why they're unidentified is we just can't like nip up there ourselves and take a look. Because let's be honest, if we could do that, we'd just go, oh yeah, it's a rock, or it's wait, it is aliens, you know, whatever it is. Half the thing is because we can't get there ourselves. So yeah. Alrighty. Next question.
Cool. So Benjamin Frick asks, is the Storm and all the area vehicles prepping us for theaters of war?
I think so. They're basically filling out all the vehicles from Battlefield 2 type, or Battlefield, if you think about it, you know, you got all your...
Yeah, and I think it makes sense for us as gamers for a logical progression. Because we're used to doing this in so many other games. So you did this in Battlefield, and you did this in, you'd all pile into a vehicle and drive off and then jump out again and do whatever it is you needed to do.
Yeah.
Whereas with spaceships, we're not really used to that yet. So if they introduce that first as ground vehicles with theatres of war, and then go stage 1 ground vehicles with a couple of aircraft, stage 2 ground vehicles with a couple of aircraft, stage 3 you need to get to a space station, and then they give you some ships that can transport you, it's an easy step for us. And I'm not talking about backers who've been talking about the game and sat in, live streams like this, theory crafting the crap out of the game. I'm talking about people who've just picked it up and gone, how does this work again? The amount of times that people, we saw it during Siege of Orison, didn't we?
We did.
Whereas it was like one person in a Hercules, and you're like, really? One in a Hercules?
Well, that's the ship they had, didn't they? So that's what they went with. But yeah, that'll change again. That just shows you the maturing what I was saying of systems before. It's going to push players together, and if they don't have that, they'll have AI. But right now, like if you answer this yourself, if you had the option to be on a C2 yourself, or you knew there was someone else that had a C2, what would you do? I would naturally want to play with the other person. Yes, there are some people that are not that way inclined, but that's a choice. If you at the moment the choice to join others is removed, you know what I mean? You can't, because you don't, and I mean random strangers, not people on your friends list, obviously. So yeah, I lean more towards that, but yeah, you correct me if you think I'm wrong. No, okay. All right, do you want to go to the next question then?
Okay, the Doug 1086 asks, do you think SC will be able to compete with COD or Fortnite?
Do we think SC will be able to? Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? I don't think it will, because initially, because they have massive pre-established audiences. Do I think it will appeal to some of those people? Absolutely. Is that the type of market they're trying to get into? Absolutely. They're not going to come in and just like take over Call of Duty and all that in one go. But I definitely think you'll pique the interest of some of those people, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to take a slice of the pie.
What I would say is that there are certain games that is really, really hard to compete with, right? And Fortnite and COD are one of those, because it's so easy to go and pick up a round. You play one round, you put it down. I've only got time for one round. So you play one round, and then you're like, right, time to shower, head out with mates, off you go. Whereas to sit there with this game, to do anything and expect your guys to meet up from disparate places of the Stanton system and meet in one place and have everything ready to go in an hour, yeah, good luck with that.
I think
So
I
at the
think
moment,
Arena
I don't-
Commander talks to that a lot too, because you don't have to fly out to anywhere. You just log into Arena Commander at work. So I think there will be a little bit of renaissance when they get that Arena Commander stuff out. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, what? And here's the bit where people are going to be, oh, you're just going completely off the rails. But okay, what if I said to you that I could build you your dream of going and exploring space? And that you couldn't do it for short periods of time. You had to sit down and dedicate some time to it. But if you ever wanted to explore space, here's your chance. Go and take a ship. Go and take people with it. You've got to worry about your food. You've got to worry about your oxygen. You can take shuttles and vehicles inside that. You can go and explore. You can go and land on a planet no one's been to before, and all this sort of stuff. And live out that space dream. How much would you... how much time would you spend in that? And I think that's it. That Star Citizen is developing, whether people like it or not. Star Citizen is developing so many systems that haven't been in a game before. Most games, they take something that we know and they add one system, right? Like Fortnite did it with 2. So Fortnite went, okay, there's a battle royale. We're going to add that into the game that is already Fortnite. And Fortnite's big thing was you could build these structures on the fly as long as you had the materials. So you would build these sudden structures and all that sort of stuff. But everything else takes... look at Diablo 4. There's not really anything new in Diablo 4. There's nothing groundbreaking.
In my honest opinion, it's a bit of a step back, actually, because there's no procedural generation except in the dungeons. So, yeah.
So you've got all this stuff that is... Diablo 3 had procedural generation, Diablo 2 had procedural generation. You just have these, these things. It's like, add this new system. Star Citizen isn't quanta server meshing ships that we can live in and fix and without just running up to something and pressing F to fix. And all these extra bits that they're doing, the whole waking up, getting all the way across the universe without ever encountering a loading screen, ever. All these things are being added at once. We got no idea what's going to come out the other end. It may be god awful and only last a couple of years. It may be a game that genuinely lasts decades and people live in it forever. I mean, look at World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft wasn't anything massively groundbreaking. There were other games doing exactly the same stuff all the time, but it just got the mix just right, and it's still going now. 20 years on, it's still going. Crazy.
Do you want to Seraph Industries, are you back, mate? I'm just curious to know if you're back. Let us know if you're back, Seraph, and if you are, we'll do Not-A-Tuna if you're here. Otherwise, I might give you a little bit more time. Let us know. I'm also wondering if other people are going to get this one, and because you know what it is. I'm just thinking we ask what game it is. Is that enough?
Yeah. Yeah, what's the name? And even if they get what it was shortened to, because it was shortened to something, wasn't it? So yeah, get that.
Yep.
And for the tie break,
this is for the tie break.
What I mean is if all three get it within seconds of each other.
All right.
Who's the metal dude you just showed off?
Yep. All right. Yeah, that can be. Yep. All right. So I can see Prusol in Twitch chat. I can see Seraph in that one. So Hollington is the other person. Hollington, are you around, mate? And if we go to Hollington, we can do the tie break. So we're about to ask you guys a trivia question. I only want answers from these 3 people, as it is a tie break. This is for Not-A-Tuna. You guys that are new, this is how we do giveaways here. We do it in a bit of a trivia fashion, a bit of a crazy wonky thing. And the final person gets to pick a prize from one of the Play School windows. And under them today, there are 3 ships there and a skin pack. So you can win a Nomad, a Mustang, and an Ares Inferno, or the last skin pack that we have, which is the one for Crusader. And we've just been adding the ships as we get them and stuff into that.
So, all right, for those guys that have just joined and aren't familiar with the format from the raid from Logan, this question is for the 3 people we've just highlighted in chat.
So try
So
not to
if
answer.
that wasn't you, please
Yeah.
don't answer.
Because
Please don't give that away because it just makes it so hard to judge who's actually got it.
yeah,
And we want this to be as fair as we can, which is why we went down the trivia route rather
Yeah.
than the only if you subscribe to us.
yes, which we could also
shit.
do. We're having a bot problem at the moment, so we are thinking about slowing the roll on this and putting them back towards the subscribers because we've been hemorrhaging subscribers, but we think it's got to be bots because we've dropped like 200 subscribers in the last month, which is why we're also trying to do that push. So there's some weird bot thing going on, but yeah, that's our problem, not your problem. All right, so what I want to know here is what game is this? And yeah, I guess the tiebreaker could be I guess what type of game it is might be the other one because it's I don't know. Yeah, so what game is this, and if you can give me what type of game it was as well. All right. And then if we have to do a tiebreaker, we'll go into that other one. So yeah, that's what I want to know. All right, you guys ready? All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
This is old.
It's very old now. It's very shiny though. Nobody knows.
Huntington's gone RTS.
Nope.
Puzzles, you're not a clue.
Not a clue. Dawn of War. Oh, they really don't know. They really don't know. So the shorthand version of it was War. But I'll show you the game, but Badgers, you might have to go another one. So this is what it was. Warhammer Online Age of Reckoning is what it was.
While you're doing that then.
Yeah. And that little metal yeah, I'll show them the little metal figure as well while you go do that. But in this huge ass collector's edition box, it was an MMO that was Warhammer based. And it lasted for about maybe 6 months. It didn't do terribly well, to be honest with you. Because they just didn't, like most games when it came out, it had the start of it, but there was no end game, and it kind of killed it. And so it also came with a collector's edition metal figure. Now that shows you how old it is. They don't come with metal figurines anymore for Warhammer. And this one's obviously pretty rare because, well, it only appeared in this game. It didn't appear anywhere else, so yeah. Yeah. No, that's correct. But none of the three people. Yeah, I'm sure there were other people that could answer it. Yeah, they can answer it now. The first time chat, it doesn't matter. That's fine. It was kind of beyond the time limit anyway. So yeah, it came with some huge ass books as well, and they have some beautiful art and stuff in it. Like, and this is all I can't really show you guys easily, but because where I'm positioned here. But like, they don't make collector's editions like this anymore. Look, that's a huge ass book. This would be a $50 book if you brought this today. You know, and it's just pages and pages of full, just all art. They don't make them like that. And the old Blizzard ones were like this as well. You know, I can go crack out an old Blizzard one. What was this book? So this one, this is an actual whole comic, but also came with a whole hardcover comic. You just don't get that anymore. They've all gone digital, and all this shit's gone out the window. So yeah. It should be, well, this one was kind of cool, but as I said, they just didn't, I was telling people why it died, and I think it was because it had no end game. It had all the start, but it had no end game. So you could get through it in about 2 weeks to the final level, and then there's just nothing to do.
Yeah. And it was also a carbon copy of WoW. They had public missions, so you would go to an area and there would
I'll show you this,
there'd
but
be like a boss or something.
No surprise why it failed though. Look.
You monster. I was a dwarf troll slayer, unsurprisingly, and I'd run around with 2 axes and just hack people.
That's what I was.
Or at least try to.
That's what I was.
Yeah.
And what's the other one? There was one with it was like an engineer or something as well with a turret.
The dwarven engineer.
Yeah, they're the two I played.
Dwarven engineer, dwarven ironbreaker.
Yeah.
And
it
really
looked visually, it looked awesome, but I guarantee you the reason this failed. By the way, this is before KOTOR came out, right? So they basically went from this and it failed to KOTOR, right? And I think the lessons they learned on this, they learned not to rush KOTOR, and that's why KOTOR survived. If they'd not rushed this, I wouldn't be surprised if this is still around today. But the whole they just going back to that thing we said today about publishers pushing people, the money men, they just did not give them the time to get this out, and they had to shut down the servers and everything. It was really sad. It's like visually, it was a great game. But is he wrong though? EA in their decline. What EA? Evil. What is it? What's the saying they say about Electronic Arts? I can't remember. Evil everywhere or something like that. Or anyway, right. What did you find for the tiebreaker?
I haven't, because I realised that the only thing that I just did
is the military thing. Well, I can break it with the start.
No, the only thing
I can break it with the stars.
The only thing I just found, I kind of inadvertently shown on stream. But it's basically where's the sword from? But
is that the Lich King one? Nope.
Frostmourne.
Oh, it is Frostmourne.
But yeah, so maybe not that one. Yeah, no, I'm unfortunately I'm kind of out for the minute. But if you want to go and find something to tie break, by all means, and I can.
I'm just thinking if we do a Star Citizen related one. So like last week I did. One of the ones I did was what was the original price of the 890 jump? Was the question I asked. So what if I do something like that? So
well, how about why don't we do this? I'll type it to you, mate, and see if you're happy.
Yep, go for it. You can make it something about the Perseus if you want. Why does the Perseus suck balls? All right, he's typing. That is so simple. But yeah, go ahead. Try it then. You go.
You want to do that one?
Yeah, you go ahead. I think it's too easy, but go ahead.
Nice and easy one. This one then. For again, please, for those three only.
Yep. So the three people we're wanting to hear from is Seraph Industries, Hollington, and Puzzle. If you're one of those, please do not answer.
Yep.
Yep. Right. Go ahead.
IAE for the last good few years has had the intergalactic sensation TV program Whiteley's Guide
Whitley's
Guide as your one-stop shop for everything IAE related. What is the name, first and last, of the host of Whitley's Guide?
Got it. Seraph got it. Cool. Easy. All right. Seraph, congratulations. Jax McCleary is his name. It was a very easy one.
Yep.
But it's probably what we needed.
I can confirm. The only reason that one sprung to mind is because
you've probably got a Top Gear thing behind you, knowing you.
No. I've actually got a signed postcard from Jax McCleary.
How do you get it? How did the real Jax McCleary sign it? He's fake. You made that up. That's bullshit.
Negative. I went to CitizenCon and I met him in person, so there.
Ah, right. But he's not a real person. That's lies.
Of course he's a real person. What are you talking about? I've seen him on the TV.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, in all CIG glory. Oh, CGI. All right.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Seraph. Would you like the blue square window, the round red window, the yellow triangle window, the green TIE Fighter window, or hexagon?
One of them.
Red circle cross.
One of them has the password and username of Algared's account.
Ooh. What are you hoping to win, Seraph? Real quick, what are you hoping to win? I will tell you this. I'll give you a good bit of news. You've won a ship. What ship did you want to win? Ares would be cool. Well, you didn't win the Ares. You won the Nomad, is what you've won. You've won the Nomad. So if you can
Yes.
whisper me on Discord, and I will get that gifted off to you straight away. And just to show you guys that we're not cheating, anything like that. The Ares was under the square again. What did I put up here? So this would be the skin pack, and the final one would be the Mustang that was there from earlier today. What I should have done, Badger, since you were here, is I should have got you to put them out. Which is normally what me and Algared do. It usually goes between the two of us.
I can't reach.
No, you could have just typed it to me, and
Gotcha.
I would have done it for you. But yeah, that is Not-A-Tuna for this week. Congrats, Mr. Seraph. I hope you guys enjoyed that. It's a little bit different. I'm not my normal energetic self though. All right, so we've got a couple of questions left, and then we'll be calling it. Right, go on to the next question for me. Someone's messaged me.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, Benjamin Frick asks, any guess if we'll get a new ship at Alien Week, and what will it be?
The Solian.
Is that to flyable?
No, concept. It's in the files, and it's in the files so much that it's on the floor of the Alien Week stuff. And we know it's because of the nameplate. It's from Gatak, which means it's industry cargo adjacent. And again, the word Raelian, it's rail and len, translates to carry without issue, and the Suli and len means without issue. So it's Suli translates to fly, so it's fly without issue. You run that through plus industry. There's only 3 possible kind of outlays that are in that area. The first 2 are repair and refuel, and then the third one that someone on stream come up with, but we don't think it is likely to be as much, is a cargo transport, as in troop transport. So like an E1 or a VIP transport or something like that. We think it's far more likely to be repair, refuel, because that's what's on the roadmap, and we know that the E1 is tailored at them trying to do AI and vehicle transportation, and so they'd want that down pat first before they move into other stuff. But again, we could be wrong. But that's the window that we're expecting it to be, in one of those 3 slots. I don't know. What's your thoughts? I'll pass it back to you, Badgers.
Yeah, my thoughts only got as far as I think we need one that does go to concept, and I think even if they weren't planning to, it was very likely that CIG were going to put one together because their earnings off of Fleet Week have left them significantly behind where they were this time last year. But of course, last year they had no ships released for Alien Week, so I think it's very likely that that's.
I think they were playing a flight ready ship for Alien Week, and I don't think it got finished on time, and so they released something else, or they cancelled it.
Chris Bates has to run because he's setting up his first gaming PC. Mate, exciting times.
Yeah,
absolutely. Looking forward to seeing us. Hit us a message. Hit us up with a message if you want to go flying for your first time. Then I'm sure we can oblige you, sir.
No worries. All right, we're down to the last 4 questions. So, 3 questions. Go ahead.
Rumrunner asks, I'm way behind the stream, but are these Twitch changes going to affect Inforunners?
No. Long story short, you are not meant to restream anyway, or dual stream anyway, on Twitch. They actually say that. We do it anyway, and we're not the only ones. And in fact, most of the other Inforunners like Space Tomato, Paul, and even other people like Board Gamer, they do it all anyway. They don't have the people to police it. So all this really affects, and if you run it all the way up, if you had limited police officers, so to speak, what would you go after? You'd go after your biggest money earners, where you're losing the most amount of money. So the only people that are really ever going to be affected by this are the people at the top. People at the bottom don't need to worry. So yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. They've also, I noticed, as of yesterday, removed the branded content stuff. So I know that's not necessarily what's in your question, but that has been rolled back. For those that are wondering,
we don't do branded
Twitch
content
basically
anyway.
Exactly. They basically turned around and said, on-stream logos are limited to 3% of size. Burned-in video ads, i.e. ones that you record and then include as part of your stream, rather than over the top, are not allowed. Display ads are not allowed. Audio ads are not allowed.
Did you?
And they rolled that back yesterday because there was such a rebellion from people.
So on Linus Tech Tips channel, TechLink, they actually showed an image of what it would actually look like for the size of the advertising, and they had a completely black screen, and they basically goes, and this is a, so they showed the advertisement of one of their things from the LTT store, and they go, and this is how big it would be on Twitch, and it's literally I shit you not, it was so, like, if I'm doing this to scale, it would be like my nose on the entire screen, and it's just like, I was like, you couldn't even put you couldn't even put a word in that, and people would be able to read it. It's crazy.
I've tried streaming a little bit to Twitch, and this is why, with me, I'm just sticking with YouTube on my own channel, because YouTube are fully aware that they make money because we make money,
but they're also fully aware that the writing's on the wall. Like they know that the heyday, so to speak, like they've got a lot of viewers, but they are, that's never going to be maintained because COVID is over, and also everyone else is catching up. So they're trying to monetize it as quickly as possible, but it's only going to be ever temporary. And I think they kind of know that. So yeah,
YouTube knows it's in their best interest to have content creators who churn out high quality content. At some point, you get to the point with content where cost becomes an issue.
Yep.
So they need to be making money up there, and YouTube realizes that it's a split, and Twitch don't. Twitch constantly seem to be gouging people.
Yeah.
Like I've seen burned in video ads in YouTube. Nobody cares.
Yep. I think it comes down to, like, at the end of the day, we're not in this for money on Inforunners, so it really doesn't matter. We'll pivot if we have to. There are those of us that they're in the Star System, like other content creators that do live off this. We don't live off this. So for us, at the end of the day, this is a passion project for us, and I don't know. I don't ever want this to be something that I live off, if I can hope to be, because I think it will suck a bit of the passion out of it. And I've seen that with other content creators. I don't know about yourself, but I know some people that are just... I need to be
able to drop this at any point, because if it stops me enjoying it, like, computer games is how I relax. It's also because of where it is. I've got friends down in, I've got friends up to 5, 6, 7, 8 hours away, depending on which way you're going in the country. You're never going to get them together unless something really major. For wedding, maybe you get them together. For everything else, for just let's go here and drink, you can never get people together.
Yeah.
Or
there's always
so being able to do it on here is important.
Yeah.
And I'm never gonna give that up to try and make a little bit more money through YouTube. That's like. Shinobi Trip asks, does the concierge game access you get count as a character slot?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. And I did kind of answer this before while you were out of the room. So yeah.
And then last question.
Hang on, which one?
We have Zio on YouTube.
Yep, go for it.
And he says, are we never going to see a starter repair ship because it would be too convenient to bring along in larger ships' hangars and take away too much purpose for the Vulcan and the Crucible?
No, I don't think so. We wouldn't have seen a starter Pisces if it was the same thing. I think, well, I've said this a few times, a starter repair ship, what is that? And I think it's really just the hand tools. It's the bigger hand tools, something that essentially just allows you to store multiple tools in it that you can bring out. And quite honestly, isn't that the reclaimer cutter? Because it's got all the hand tools, so you can go in and cut stuff out. So it could literally be a variant of the cutter. If they bring out a second variant after that, or it could be the same even. I don't know. You tell me what you think. Salvage repair in the same ship.
Yeah, I think it's interesting as a starter ship because it kind of requires you to have. I guess it doesn't require, but it benefits players who are already connected in the game, because knowing how to answer service beacons and stuff like that, and just going and finding that there isn't a repair section in the missions list.
Yep.
But your entire starter ship is repair. It's a bit weird. Whereas the other ships,
I think they'll put repair in eventually, though. Right now it's not there, but there's no repair missions yet because there's no repair ships yet. That's what I mean. So that'll all come with time. And it is, and as a starter ship, really, as I said, it couldn't any starter ship be that ship. Instead of putting weapons in your gun rack, you're just putting tools in your rack. So, yeah.
Potentially. Although I'd imagine it'll be a little bit more involved, like being in a utility slot, like the salvage arms for the Vulture and stuff. But yeah.
That's if it actually had arms on the vehicle. I'm saying, like, as a starter, right? It might not need, like, if you're, what's a starter doing? Like, look at the Vulcan. It's just drones, and those drones are really just hand repair tool level stuff. They're not super advanced. They're not the the 3D printing arms or stuff like that. So I don't know. It really depends where they want to take it.
Yeah.
And I keep saying that a lot because we're now at that point where we've got so many ships in game. It's just they're all outliers now. We're starting to get an outlier territory where it's where they want it to go, where their creative freedoms take them.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then. I think that's it, Badgers, for another week. We're wrapping up 10 minutes early, which is unusual for us. But yeah, we've definitely dropped off viewers. That's fine. So it's a good time to head off. I'm going to raid Expat Brat on Twitch. So friend of the channel, Expat Brat. So everyone on Twitch and YouTube, say goodbye to each other. Thanks for joining us. We'll be doing another show this weekend. Badgers, can I rely on you for another show this weekend since Algared's sick?
Possibly.
Yeah, I might have to get one out of you just because he's sick. So yeah, we'll talk about it afterwards anyway. Or if we can get a hold of Essay, we can definitely do the command and control one that we've been talking about too.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we'll get something sorted out for you guys over the weekend. So don't worry about it. Yeah, so you guys on Twitch. Wait, Inforunners raid has been created. All right, cool. Say goodbye, Twitch. Have fun and ask Expat why we never see a face. All right, bye. So, there goes Twitch. Yeah, YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and let us know your thoughts and any comments as well or questions that you have. Feel free to ask them below and we'll get around to those and ask them in due time. All right, anything else you want to add, Badgers?
No, I think that's everything from me.
Yep, me too. So he's been Badgers. I've been Execute. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.